it and then and then I can tweet.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna scan through the some more stuff here real quick.
Okay. Okay. So should be up and going.
I didn't throw in that Twitter question. I'll throw it in here real quick.
Did we get another one? Or is it just that one from earlier?
Just the one. Yeah, just the one.
I threw that in earlier today.
Oh, you did?
Yep. It's let me make sure it's there because I was doing it on my laptop upstairs while the kids were playing.
Oh, yep, I see it now. That one FedEx guy. Cool.
Yep. Two
Nice.
questions, two good ones too.
Yeah.
Is roll all the way up 17 pages. Mhm. Okay, cool.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. We are back. We are back. We are back.
Yes.
2023, everybody. It's good to have you all listening to us again. I got Brian next to me. You can find him on Twitter at Mediocre Ace. Brian, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, Rich. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I am the 30% of the duo. Last time I said that I was the 40%. Now I'm saying I'm the 30% of the duo. You can find me on Twitter at I'm rich, but I'm not. We are going to have a ton of stuff to talk about tonight. But before we get into that, we're going to start our show the way that we always do. Brian, what are you
Mhm.
drinking?
So yeah, feels good to be back. So it's kind of a special night, I guess. So I went and got myself some more Union Omaha Corner Kick sponsored by Modelo. So
There
I will
you
be
go.
drinking Modelo's tonight in honor of League One coming back this week.
100% honesty, I tried to find some Modelo at the liquor store, could not find it. I was gonna embrace the spirits just like you did,
Yep,
but couldn't find it. So I got to go with some other beers that I have tonight. I'm going to start off with a lighter one and then head into the heavier stuff.
that's always a smart choice.
Um, so I'm going to go with what is this? Oh, Cosmic Eye. It's from Lincoln,
Yeah,
and it's their Fest beer. It's the Fest beer. Some cool logo stuff there.
perfect. Yeah, I like that one a
And
lot.
then after that, I'm going to head into Black Dog Stout from Big Barn Brewing Company, and they are out of Mead, Washington. Got
All
a
right.
nice looking Labrador there on the front.
Even better when you get a little doggo.
Yep.
All
So
right.
we got that going. And while we are jumping, before we jump into everything, Brian, you have been pretty busy over the off season too with getting some content to write uh, for the Who Gives a Hoot website. Do you have
Yeah.
any exciting articles coming up here pretty soon?
Um. So as of right now, nothing yet. But that's because I'm going to be primarily focusing on supporters group stuff and crowd stuff at the actual matches themselves. So um, it's kind of hard to do both of those with no matches quite yet. I know Parliament's working on some really good stuff. So along with, I believe Social Club is doing some things for this first tailgate as well with them in conjunction since Forward Madison's going to be in town. So um, look forward to that as soon as that happens. I'll have a write up on that shortly after. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
Are you
You,
going to be meeting up with any of the Forward Madison people when they come to town?
I don't think that I know any of the Forward Madison supporters, but I would uh I would definitely meet them. Yeah.
Well, I know so Kyle might be coming down. I hope he does.
Okay. Well, yeah,
He's
yeah.
over at Walking 90.
Hmm.
And then Rob, he's over at Talking Flock. Hopefully he comes down too. Rob, if you're watching, please come down. Um, I know that we got some other Ford Madison fans up there that probably listen to the show and
Yeah.
contribute to questions and all that kind of stuff. If you guys are coming down, feel free to join up with Brian and I at the tailgate. We'd love to hang
Hmm.
out with you guys, love to chat, and um, I'm sure that Brian would love some of that stuff for any articles that he's going to be writing here pretty
Yeah.
soon.
And if just so everybody knows too that listens, if you catch us at one of the tailgates, I'll be sure to have our podcast stickers with me. So go ahead and come on
Yes,
over and grab a couple stickers from me too.
yeah, we're legit now, man. We have stickers,
Yeah, we're legit.
and oh, what was the other thing? Oh, so during halftime, we have a new feature involving the show. So Brian, give us a little update on that situation.
Yeah. So because we're Union Omaha supporters, I am gonna have mics, and we're gonna be doing some live reactions at halftime. We're gonna call it reactions from the beer line. Thanks for that one, Chip. And yeah, it should be fun to get some fan reactions to the matches as they're happening, and then maybe even some post match stuff. And these microphones, I think if anybody's seen our YouTube channel, plug for that. Go like, subscribe on there. Um, they work pretty well. We're still trying to figure them out. Had them a little close to our mouths before, but we'll figure it out. But a lot of cool content's gonna be coming along with that for sure.
So those updates are not only going to be Union Omaha centric, it's going to be league centric. So we'll have updates from around the league on match days whenever he and I are at the Union Omaha matches, and so that way, we're not just throwing Union Omaha specific information at you. You're getting a full scope of everything that's happening. He'll be chatting with some fans
Hmm.
around the concourse of the stadium.
Yep.
Still unknown if I'm going to be able to contribute to that. I submitted a media pass with Union Omaha. I have not heard back from them on that front yet. So if I do not get a media pass, then I will certainly be joining him on those halftime updates. If I do get a media pass, then I'll be busy up in um, the press box working on some other stuff. Um, but if either way, if you see Brian around the concourse, feel free to jump in and give him your thoughts because we'll post
Yeah.
those up and give you proper recognition too.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime.
Yeah.
Pre-match, post-match, halftime. Probably not during the match because then all you hear is me yelling and trying to heckle. So I don't think anybody really needs to hear that. So
And then we have plenty of other great ideas coming this season. Brian and I did a lot of brainstorming in the off season about new content that we could do. Um, just ways of generating some more creativity within the show. And he and I both have some really good ideas for the upcoming season, and we're excited to implement those. So we can't necessarily throw every single thing at you here and now, but we're going to start building up some of the content stuff here pretty soon, and it's going to be pretty good. It's going to be very good.
yeah, it'll be very good, and there's going to be quite a bit that I think everybody should will be excited to be able to see and hear. So um, without spoiling it too much, I guess we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I haven't taken a sip yet, but cheers, buddy.
Hey,
Cheers to the
cheers,
2023 season, man.
cheers, everyone.
All right, so let's jump in. We're doing a full preview tonight, all 12 teams.
Yes.
We're going to throw our predictions your way. We got a lot to talk about, so we're just going to jump right in. First club up is Central Valley Fuego.
Oh, Fuego.
Yes. Okay, so before we jump into this, I got a little bit of a bone to pick with Central Valley Fuego.
Yeah, let's hear it.
You guys got to be more active. When I look at your roster here and now, if I counted correctly, looking at your social media posts, your club is sitting at, what did I see? Like 14 players? 13 players.
13 players. Yep.
As of right now, you have 3 defenders, you have 7 midfielders, 1 striker, and 2 goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Something tells me you have a lot more signings coming before the first day of the season, and you're just holding that information back from us.
Hmm.
We want the information. We want to spread your news. We want to hear about things that are happening within your club. Spread the news. Let us know.
We all want to know. Makes
Yeah,
our job easy, and we do like talking about everybody in the league. So the more news, the
yeah.
better.
And just going off of that, no spoilers here, but just going off of that information right now, I mean, I have no choice but to put Fuego in last place for my predictions for this season.
'Cause you just don't know. You don't
Yeah,
know any.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I that it seems to be one of those things that happens with Fuego, or has been happening with Fuego, that it's just not very transparent in the front office. That needs to change. It I don't know. What can you really say? It's
I'm going to
Fuego,
give
and
them
we hope it gets better.
I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Because that club has such high travel costs, they can't afford to have a social media manager. That's what I'm summarizing here. If that's not
Sure.
the case, fine, whatever it is. I'm not trying to throw anybody, like any specific person, under the bus. I'm just saying I would love to see more information coming out of
Yeah.
that club. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. I mean, we just want the information.
Yeah,
That's all we want. Just if you know something, say something.
yeah.
But
But one of the highlights that did come out of their roster announcements was Jose Carrera Garcia.
mhm,
He's coming back. Um, he's been with them for what, 2 seasons? No. Well, I mean, he was with them last season and then Red Wolves before that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's been there, and he's a player. I mean, it's one of the players that you do hear quite a bit. He is very involved. Um, so I mean, with both of those seasons, 71 appearances, 4 goals, 11 assists, 39 clearances, 61 tackles, and a really high 76 interceptions.
Yeah.
Um, just a great player that is really gonna shore up some of the midfield woes that they have had the last season.
Yep. And I misspoke there. He wasn't at uh, Fuego last season. He's been with Chattanooga the past couple seasons.
Yeah,
So that's my
yeah,
bad. Because yeah, he was central mid there, wasn't he?
hmm
So yeah.
yeah.
So
Very good at controlling the ball and controlling that midfield.
yeah, he knows how to stretch a play. He knows how to link up to the top line. I mean, the guy knows how to create chances. I mean, he's just yeah,
hmm
he's a good player,
Yeah,
and he's a
great
great
player.
addition to that team. He's gonna do good things for them.
Yeah, definitely.
And then
Um,
they also signed David Diaz. Uh, he was at oh one of those California schools, I think, wasn't it?
yeah, yes.
Um, but he's actually one of their first academy signings. So I mean, it's always nice to see an academy signing
hmm
sticking with the club and developing further and getting better each season. So hopefully, he has a good season.
Yeah. And I mean, he should. He was the Big West men's soccer freshman of the year, and the All Big West freshman team. 3 goals or 3 assists and 2 goals last season. And it's really good to see guys that have gone into Fuego's academy or any team's academy that move from the academy side to the first team side.
Yeah.
That's how this league is going to grow and be taken more seriously by the rest of the world.
Yep.
That's great to see.
Yep. And you can't talk about Fuego without talking about Ofek Ant Man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a very good goalkeeper. 24 games played, 7 clean sheets, 33 goals conceded. That goals conceded number is a little misleading. If we watched Fuego last season, you know why there were so many goals conceded. Their defense just really wasn't all that great as a unit itself. So he was kind of let down um, by the defense on a lot of those, but um, made a lot of saves too. A really good keeper and a um, really good guy to retain for this season. So I'm expecting him to have a great year. It's not going to be another 33 conceded goals this season, I don't think.
No, I certainly hope not. And he also showed up for the Fuego during the Open Cup because they were playing some tough teams out there out
hmm
west, and he was showing up to those matches, just like our the next man we were going to talk about, Villian Bijev. I mean,
Yeah.
that guy was another one who during league play he may have had 5 goals, 4 assists, but he even was an instrumental player to their success in the Open Cup. Now they didn't get as far as other clubs in the league, but still they had their own form of success out there on the
hmm
West Coast.
Yeah. Yeah, they sure did. And Bichev was a huge part of that. I mean, what can you really say about him? I mean, um, he's a great player, great on the ball,
Yeah,
especially.
yeah. Are you surprised that they kept Bijev around?
Um, I'm more surprised that nobody was able to lure him away than I was that they kept him because obviously he's a good player and any team would be happy to have him. But um, I mean, I don't know. Some guys, once they start playing somewhere, they want to stick around until they get a huge opportunity. They don't want to move laterally; they want to move up. So
That's true. Yep. And then you can also see in their roster that they re-signed Ozzy Ramos. Now, this was one that when I was scrolling through the list, you start to see some of the bigger names that were on Fuego that are either no longer there or were re-signed. Ozzy Smith, or I'm sorry, Ozzy Ramos is
Mhm.
one of those guys that kind of snuck through
Yeah.
because he's one of those guys that was a very understated player last year. His he had some stats here: 3 assists, 30 chances created. He's one of those players that was more about setting his teammates up for success, and so he didn't exactly step into the limelight, but he pushed others into it in his stead. And
Mhm.
for them to re-sign him, I thought that was a good, healthy sign for Fuego. That was a good, smart move for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Fuego did retain, a pretty good, amount of people that were key parts. Granted, I mean, we'll talk about it here in a little bit. They did lose some pretty huge parts as well,
Yeah,
but, it doesn't look like Fuego is really wanting to mess around this season, keeping these guys at least on the field. So, might be one to look out for. Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to look when
it's
we talk about them.
it's what they do with the other 13 players that have not been
Yeah,
announced yet.
yeah, but yeah.
They also have Sharif J returning.
Mhm,
4 goals, 2 assists, 22 chances created. Very balanced across the board. That
mhm.
guy's good.
Yeah. Love when a winger can get that many chances created doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, he was a threat down that right flank last season. He's going to be that same threat again this season.
Yeah.
He was fun to watch then. He's going to be fun to watch this season too.
Mhm. Yeah,
All right, let's get
definitely.
into those key departures.
Oh boy, yeah. Big one. Christian Chaney left to join Forward Madison. Chaney played in 27 matches, had 10 goals and 4 assists. So, man, that one hurts big time.
That one hurts big time.
Um, what are you gonna do to replace that production? That is a huge, huge issue that they're gonna have to get sorted out.
Yeah, because right now their only striker that I see on their roster is Bijev. But I mean, Bijev is also a guy that is known for sitting back as a midfielder too. So
Yep.
I mean, I mean, they could easily start the season without a pure striker in their
Mhm.
midst, at least at this point in time.
Yeah, but who knows? I mean, that
Yeah.
they probably have, you know, some guy from the Premier League coming over, and and then there you go. Um, well, and I guess not just to be saying Christian Chaney was the only one that left. Another big one, Michael Hornsby, um, got sent off to Richmond. 27 matches played and 1 assist, but another one of those guys that every time you watched a Central Valley Fuego match, you could not stop hearing this guy's name
Yeah.
involved in the play at all times. So, I mean, those are two huge, huge holes that they're going to have to fill.
Yeah. And as good a defender as he was, man, you really want someone like him in front of Ant Man to give Ant Man more confidence, as the season goes on.
Mhm.
Um, if you have holes in your defense like that, or even uncertainty in your back line, that could certainly cause some problems for Ant Man. But hopefully, that kind of stuff doesn't happen. We'll have to see what. I mean, we just I keep bringing it up. But I mean, it all depends on who they have signed on that we don't know about. There's
Yeah.
just so many questions around Fuego that are still left unanswered, and we're heading into week one.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And I mean, there's even guys that we don't know what's happening with them. We don't know where they went. Victor Falk is one of those.
yeah,
6 goals, 3 assists, 36 chances created, which leads the team and led the team in minutes played. And also Maxi Schoenfeld, 25 appearances, 15 starts, wasn't impactful on defense, and as Union Omaha fans know, is a bit of a hothead. Last year had 8 yellow cards. Just wanted to throw that one in there as well. But those are two guys that we don't know where they landed. Are they still in Central Valley? Are they moving somewhere else? Or did what they just disappeared off the face of the earth?
Yeah. I mean, Maxi is one of those guys that has the potential to be an impactful player. We saw it when he was at FC Tucson.
Yeah.
Time and time again, he was a bulldog. He made things happen. He prevented you from moving an inch up the field. For him to have the stats and even the playing time that he had last season at Fuego is concerning.
Mhm.
Um, I wonder if he's a better fit for a different system.
Yeah. I mean,
I think he I think he could do better elsewhere. I'll throw that out there.
sure. He has a particular style, like you were kind of alluding to, that kind of lends itself to a more defensively minded team. Um, and he looks like I mean, and he doesn't even look like, we know he's sort of an enforcer on on the pitch as well. So um, it's just still kind of shocking that you have a guy in the midfield in Victor Falk and Maxi Schoenfeld, who is a left back or just a defender that we don't know, and it's crazy to me. But who knows, man? Fuego, I guess. So we'll have to find out. I mean, the season's almost here. We're gonna know by the end of their first match, you know. So or the beginning of their first match where these guys are, if they're even in the lineup. So
Right.
and they don't have a whole lot of time. Um, because they play on the 22nd of March against NCFC, which is a I all
That's
right.
tough, man.
I'm gonna save this. I'll save this for later on my opinions on NCFC. But that's a tough match, definitely. Especially to start it, and especially not knowing who your starters are going to be going into it 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
So I
So
don't.
their first 5 league matches, like you already said, versus North Carolina, they go on the road to Chattanooga, come back home to play Union Omaha, and then they go back on the road to play One Knox and then Greenville.
Oof.
And that's a lot of time, a lot of miles.
Hmm.
And if you look at this, this isn't one of those situations where they're on the road playing Wednesday and then Saturday. They're playing on the road Saturday, followed by another Saturday, looking at One Knox followed by Greenville. So
Hmm.
they're going, if they're going to Knoxville, they have the choice to either pay the hotels and, renting out training grounds so they can prepare for Greenville, or they can fly back to Fresno after One Knox and then fly across the country again for Greenville. That's just crazy.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, you have to think that they're gonna have to go home, right? So I don't know how feeding and lodging that many guys for a week at a time, is really feasible as opposed to airline, which has probably already been booked for months in advance
Yeah.
anyway. So, but yeah, that's a ton of travel for this team.
And so another wrinkle into the system, if you look at weeks 3 and then their US Open Cup match and then week 4, they're on the road at Chattanooga. They come back home a few days later to play Monterey Bay, who is in the championship. And then they stay at home to play Union Omaha. Now that's 3 matches in the course of 7 days. Well, I mean, 8 if you include one of the 24 hours there.
Hmm.
But I mean, that's a tough schedule right there in and of itself.
It is.
And I love the dramatic or the drama surrounding match up against Monterey Bay, because if you know the history of Monterey Bay, the club that's in USL Championship, in 2017 they started their club as Fresno FC,
Hmm.
and now they're in Monterey Bay, and now they're going back to Fresno to play the now Fresno club. So it's just one of those little tiny, storylines that you can follow in the Open Cup. That's just a lot of fun. There's a lot
Yep.
more of those storylines coming.
Yeah. And that's the thing that makes me feel like maybe part of the Open Cup is a little bit staged because
Yeah.
there's a ton of these kind of matchups that just happen to like come up this season. It,
Yep.
I mean, if they're choosing the matches like that, that's fine. But just give the little guys the home field advantage. That's all I
Yep.
ask. Well, and
And
I will say too, because we are live on YouTube, there is a couple people commenting. Alex Ashton, when we were talking about Maxi Shaneyfelt, said that Maxi isn't coming back to Fuego. The VP of football confirmed that on the Fuego pod.
okay, there
So
you go.
he will not be back this season. So
There you have it. Thanks for that info. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
appreciate that, Alex. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, the only other thing that so we kind of touched on Christian Cheney and trying to replace his goals. What are they going to do? We don't really know because we don't know the roster yet. So
No.
um, the other thing that we really got to worry about is the support going to be there again this season? Because they did last season. They had tremendous support for the amount of turmoil and things that were going on with the front office and stuff like that. If you listen to the Fuego podcast, they went over that pretty extensively and their frustrations with it.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, there was a lot of turmoil around the prices that there were some people were talking about they don't know if they're going to renew season tickets. So I hope that they do, and I hope that they get that all figured out. But I mean, it is going to be something that might not play on the players' minds so much, but I mean, home field advantage is a real thing. So
It
getting as
is.
many supporters out there as you can is obviously going to help. So
Yeah.
hopefully they get that all figured out and squared away.
And a huge shout out to all the Fuego fans that are out there listening or watching.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
amount of shit that you guys put up with last season, whether it was the parking, the tailgating situation, the prices, anything. I mean, anything in that list, you still kept coming to matches. You stepped up, you showed up, you kept cheering. Good for you. That's what it's about.
Definitely. And I hope you guys continue to do that to the best of
Yeah.
your ability. So, I mean, I completely understand though if that's just too much for you or the trust has kind of been broken and you're just not with it anymore.
Yeah.
Completely get that as well. So, um, but we hope that you guys will keep interacting and talking because I do like talking to you guys, whether it be through Twitter or listening to your conversations on podcasts or anything like that.
Yep. And didn't mention this yet, but they did hire a couple new coaches this season. They hired a technical staff consultant, like a video analyst, and then they hired a goalkeeping coach, which is good for Ant Man.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, Ruben Messina is going to be the goalkeeper coach, and then Brian Zwashka is going to be the consultant and video analyst. And one little side bit of information: Brian Zwashka is actually from the Des Moines area.
Nice. Nice and close.
Yeah,
A couple hours away.
yeah. So that's pretty
Perfect.
cool.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, next club up is Forward Madison. A
Forward
lot of hype
Madison.
behind this club.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, I'm buying that hype a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Um, now there is a little bit of downsides to this as well. There has been some big turnover. Um, Jeremiah Strang is not going to be returning. Excuse me. He went to a first tier Finnish team that I'm not even going to try to pronounce this name because when I typed this out, I had to have it on my other screen and look letter for letter typing it out. So, um, but Jeremiah was the top goal scorer for Madison last season, 7 goals, 1 assist, and only in 30 matches played. So, I was gonna say only. I was like, no, we only played 30. So, 30 matches played, 7 goals. That's not too bad.
And the big name that you and I talked about a lot last season, Cassini, is not coming back.
Hmm. Yeah, Cassini got sent down to South Georgia to join Tormenta. Cassini had 26 matches played, 5 goals, 5 assists, but he was also one of those guys that um, was always involved in the play. And you could kind of tell with Cassini towards the end of the season that either he was really upset about how things were turning out or he was upset with his own situation. Um, but I mean, the last match of the season, you're literally punching the pitch in frustration is not really a good sign.
Yeah,
But that's a great player that they ended up losing as well.
yeah. I think that was just a case of everything boiling to a head, and he just had to let out his frustration. It happened
Yeah,
to be out on the field during playing time in front of everybody, but I mean, it is what it is.
yeah, cares.
Yeah. And Cyrus Rad is not going to be coming back either. He went to Huntsville
Yeah,
over in MLS Next Pro.
yeah. Um,
That's another big loss.
that is uh, that's kind of what we were alluding to, saying that there was a ton of big departures. That's that's going to be a tough one as well um, to replace.
Yeah.
Cyrus was also another one of those guys that um, you heard his name quite a bit, but it was always for the right reasons. It was never really in the wrong place or um, at the wrong time, kind of thing. So, man,
And Raiko Rosarina, his loan ended. So it's not like he, just up and left the club. I mean, he fulfilled his loan
mhm.
and he went back to, or he didn't even go back to Tampa Bay, did he? They didn't re-sign him, did they?
I don't think they re-signed him. Don't remember where he went off to, but I don't think it was.
Let me look that up here really quick because that would be interesting to see. But that guy came out of nowhere last season. I mean, we saw him come in and we thought, oh, okay. I mean, he's coming from USL Championship, but don't
Hmm.
really know a whole lot about him. And he just, man,
Let's see here. I don't. Um, So as far as transfer market goes, it says that he went back to the Rowdies, but we all know how transfer market can be.
yeah, it hasn't updated because it looks like his loan or his, yeah, it doesn't have updated information. So, oh well.
Well,
Yeah, we'll be talking about the Rowdies a lot here in the near future because there was a lot of transfers from their club to League One and also loans and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to
hmm.
be saying that name quite a bit here
Oh yeah,
in just a
definitely.
little bit.
Yeah,
But for all the losses that Forward Madison had, they had a lot of hype coming behind the players that they brought in.
yeah. Obviously, we talked about Christian Cheney. Huge signing, probably the biggest signing for Madison. Um, Huge attacking presence, but one that Rich, I know specifically you talked about a lot last season was Timmy Mel. Um,
Yes.
Center back coming from the Rowdies slash Chattanooga Red Wolves. Um, a ton, a ton of experience in League One and a really good player.
Yeah. He was on loan from Tampa Bay Rowdies to Chattanooga last season. And man, for the Chattanooga backline, that guy was busy and he was keeping up with everything that was coming his way. He
Yeah,
was a lot of fun to watch. Very good player, very good addition for Madison's back line. That's going to be fun to watch. So
yeah,
right now, what other defenders? So they do have Mitch Osman coming back.
That's a good one.
Um, and then as far as oh, so they also have Jacob Kroll coming in. He came in from FC Tucson, and obviously he played with Union Omaha in 2021. Um, so having Jacob Kroll and Timmy Mel paired up in the middle on the back line, that's a man, that's a strong duo. Um, to be your last line. Well, I mean, second to last line of defense. The keeper's your last line of
Mm,
defense, but whatever.
sure, sure. The field position player, last line of
Yeah,
defense. Yeah,
yeah. But that's a good pairing right there.
a very good pairing, and that is partially the reason why I'm so high on Forward Madison this season. Spoiler alert, but
Yeah,
um, yeah, that's huge for them. They did concede a lot of goals late last season,
yeah,
so that'll definitely help with that.
yep.
Uh, we also could talk about Stephen Payne, the right back from the Kickers, played in 28 matches for them, 1 goal, 3 assists as a right back. That's a stat. The 1 goal and 3 assists, especially. So, I mean, maybe that hybrid right back winger type of player. Um, but he's definitely a force to be reckoned with and to kind of pay attention to on that back line for them as well.
Yeah. I mean, we saw what was it last season? That's the guy from what's his name from Northern Colorado. He was on the back line and he got that season award.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Damn it, we're going to talk about him when we get to Northern Colorado, but
yeah.
um, yeah, because he re-signed with them.
Yes,
But
he
yeah,
did.
I mean, if you're offensively productive, it doesn't matter what you do on the defense because the league only cares about what you do on the other side of the field, not your own side.
True. Very true.
And
That
Forward Madison, let's see, their first five, it's not too bad. There could be some trouble in there.
yeah.
Their first match is in week two, coming to Union Omaha. So starting off the season on the road. And then their very next match is going to be in the Open Cup. And that opponent has yet to be determined because Chicago House AC and Bavarian United SC play a week from today. So whoever
Mhm.
wins in that match will play at Brees Stevens Field against Ford Madison.
Yeah, and that is really quickly too in the chat here, Alex and Matt PR also said Arthur Rogers is the name that we were looking
Arthur
for.
Rogers, thank you
So
guys.
yes,
Yes, thank
thank you
you.
guys. We appreciate that. That Open Cup match. I mean, your first match, you have a rivalry game with Omaha, and then your second match is potentially against Chicago House AC, which I don't know if anybody listening knows too much about it, but they are a very very good amateur side. Like
Yeah,
they have pulled off upsets before and could potentially be one of those teams that could sneak into Reese Stevens and beat a League One side.
yeah,
So, I mean, granted, they got to get through Bavarian United first, but that's also going to be one to look out for because either of those teams could beat anybody in League One on a good day.
yeah. If you want some good behind the scenes interviews with Chicago House AC, go look up Joe Chats on Twitter, CHATZ. He did some recent interviews with the team at one of their recent training sessions and got some good quotes from the players. So players are obviously very excited. They're very confident heading into the match, and hopefully things go their way.
Yeah. And looking ahead past the Open Cup match, they do go to Lexington, um, and then come back home versus Greenville, and then have Charlotte at home before heading on the road to One Box. So
And as much as you may talk about how this can be a difficult schedule, at the same time, there's some space between some of those matches too. So they have some recovery time to work with. Um,
yeah, between Greenville and Charlotte, that's a whole 2 weeks
yeah,
between those two matches. So and those are both at home too. So that could be a sneaky thing if they can get past Greenville and take it to Charlotte. That's if you can get 6 points out of those few weeks right there. That's a hell of a good start.
Yep. So you're riding high on Forward Madison this season.
Hmm.
The last time they were in the playoffs was in 2019, their first um, appearance in the league.
Yep.
Do you think they will this season?
Yeah. So I won't tell you right now where I'm going to put them, but yeah, I think Forward Madison does put it back together and get into the playoffs this season.
Yeah, I
So
think you're right. I think they can. I think they can do it. I think they can squeeze in there.
yeah, I think so. I think the league is going to be really tight again this season.
Yeah,
So I think there's going to be a chance for any team really to get into the playoffs. So
yeah.
it'll be tough. But you also have to wonder if they're going to make it back to the playoffs, how are they going to put all of these big signings together that can fit Matt Glazer's play style?
Yeah. And, at the end of last season, he said very openly that um, basically he alluded to the fact that this was not his locker room.
Hmm.
And he didn't feel that, things were going his way. This is his season to finally get the guys that he wants to play the style that he wants. And he has the control heading into this season. So this is, I don't want to say it's a make or break season for Glazer, but at the same time, there's some pressure on him because finally the club is saying, all right, fine, you can have your players, you can play your style, go and do it.
Hmm.
And now we get to see, it's kind of that put up or shut up.
Yeah. And I don't think there's really a coach that's on the hot seat maybe this season.
No.
Um, but if anybody's closest to the fire, Matt Glazer, you'd think would be on the short list for that. There's a couple other coaches that are probably on that list, but
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily think that he's going to do a bad job this season or that he should be on a hot seat. I think what he's done with what he's had in Madison has been um, admirable, really. So now that he has his players, we'll see exactly what he's all about.
With the style that he wants to play and the players that he has in his locker room, he should be fine.
Hmm.
He
I think
should be
so.
fine.
Yeah,
So
like I said,
hopefully they
playoff
don't have
team.
any, yeah, hopefully they don't have any major, injury issues or anything like that. Hopefully they can reach the level of potential that they deserve, and that those fans certainly have been waiting for.
Yeah.
I mean, those fans show up and they show up in massive numbers for each and every single home match.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, led
and
the
man,
league last season in attendance.
yeah, you're just waiting for it to finally come to fruition.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, next club up is Greenville.
The Greenville Triumph. So uh, they did. Greenville's one of those teams that it seems like they're going to ride with the guys that they got for a lot of it. They did bring in a couple guys or a few people, but um, there was definitely a little bit of a thought of we're just going to take the guys that we've had. It's a tried and true system. Harks knows what he's doing. Let's get after it again this season. Which, I mean, if you look back at them historically, it's not really a bad idea because they've been. I mean, you could probably say the best team in League One, top to bottom, every single year. If you look at their entire existence, yeah, I would venture to say they're probably the best League One team of all time, right? But um, they did need to bring in a few guys to shore up a little bit. A big one, especially to Union Omaha fans and honestly to Greenville fans, probably too.
Yeah,
Um, Devin Boyce. He came from Memphis 901. Um, didn't really have stats to talk about, but also had a very injury plagued season.
yeah.
Um, but Union Omaha fans will know that he was here in 2021, 43 matches, 5 goals, and 10 assists. So he knows how to play in the League One. Um, so, and that's a big pickup for them.
Yeah. He's here, he's there, he's every fucking where, Devin Boyce.
It's true.
Yeah. If they don't pick up that song for him, I'm gonna be
Like
disappointed with the Triumph fans.
they got to, right? Like it's too easy,
Yeah,
especially when it's a rival. Like a rival chant team started that chant, you got to like steal it, right? Steal a player, steal a chant, whatever.
absolutely. Well, another major pickup was Tevin Shaw, defensive midfielder from FC Tucson. FC Tucson, man, I feel bad for that club because
Hmm.
as soon as they announced they were going to go down to League Two, man, everyone was just waiting at the door to
Oh
to
yeah.
sign any player that was going to be walking out of that locker room.
Well, yeah, it's like the old movies where you see like in the desert, the vultures kind of circling as
Yeah,
and they kind of see it, and then as soon as it drops, they're in on it. And that
yep.
seems to be what happened with FC Tucson, unfortunately.
But Tevin Shaw is a great pickup for them.
Hmm.
18 matches played. He also played in the Jamaican Premier League as well as the CONCACAF Champions League, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's big. That's especially for a third division side, like somebody with that level of skill that has been in the top league in Jamaica and playing in the CONCACAF Champions League, which is that's a big tournament. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's another great pickup. Um, so I'll be excited to see what he can do in Greenville, and especially under such a good coach like John Harkes. But we do know that Paul Christensen departed. He retired, so that was a big gap that they had to fill, and they brought in Jared Mazzola, who was a goalkeeper, excuse me, from AFC Ann Arbor, which is a USL 2 squad. Um, and I don't know if he was on the roster last year or if he was not, but um, it seems like they may have already had a guy or found a guy. So, um, which was kind of the big question for the Triumph in the offseason was when Christensen left, how are you going to replace him?
Hmm.
So, and this is not the first time the Triumph has had a goalkeeper leave that
Oh man,
was a big presence that they had to replace. So,
when Dallas J left and they
mhm,
had to replace him, those are some big shoes you had to fill. And
yeah,
then now that Paul's leaving, now they got to fill those shoes. And I mean, both of those guys were great guys for the club.
mhm,
They were active in the community. They were on. They had great relationship with the fans. So when Jared comes in, hopefully he embraces that same type of relationship, both with the club and with the fans, and then he can perform well for the club on the field as well.
yeah. And I don't have any thoughts that that's not going to happen, honestly, because I
Yeah,
mean, with how well that organization is run, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be the case.
yeah, I don't have any doubts there either.
Yeah.
And speaking of departures, we already talked about Paul, but Derek Waldeck left back for Triumph last season, went to One Knox, um, and had 9 matches last season. He had an assist in League One, and then when he returned from his loan to North Texas, he played 12 matches for them and had a goal. So he was productive in both leagues.
Right. Yeah, and as a left back too. So that's that's a big departure, and it seems like One Knox kind of went through and knew exactly what they were doing when picking out guys for their team.
Yeah,
Um, and I think One Knox is going to be a pretty good team. So, um, and I mean, not really to be outdone, they didn't pick just one guy off of Greenville. They also grabbed Jake Keegan, who played 24 matches for the Triumph with 2 goals and 2 assists.
yeah.
So One Knox basically just looked at that left side of Greenville and said, "Yeah, we'll have that," and just took him. So
And I know Gio is probably upset about Jay Keegan left because I think he and Keegan were pretty good friends
yeah, I think I might
um,
have remember hearing
there in
something about that.
Greenville.
Yeah,
So um, I can imagine that would probably be a tough person to lose within the club. But I mean, he's going to One Knox. He's going to do, and he gets to wear um the jersey with the gradients, or the not the gradients, but the lines, the topography
Oh,
jersey.
topography. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
It's
he
the
gets to
second
wear
one.
it
Yeah.
for Greenville, and he gets to wear it for One Knox. I mean, it's
Yep.
just, jeez.
I mean, he likes his maps. What can you do? You know.
Yeah. If they had one of those for Union Omaha, it would just be like one line because of how
Hmm.
fucking flat we are.
Yeah.
I remember in 2021 when the Triumph fans were coming to Omaha, one of the first words they said when they got out of their van was, "God damn, it's fucking flat out here."
Yeah. It is very true. Unfortunately, so.
Yeah. And then speaking of big names from the Triumph organization that are departing and going to other clubs, especially new clubs, Don
Mhm.
Smart, their right midfielder, going over to Lexington.
Yeah. And I mean, Don Smart, a little bit older, and I use the term older very loosely because we're pretty much the same age. So, um, I mean, but he did play an awful lot. So, I mean, you have to
Yeah,
wonder how many miles does he have on the tank, you know?
yeah,
But he was brought to Lexington for a reason. There obviously must be no fitness issues, and that veteran leadership for them is something that a brand new club is going to need. So,
yeah. And I love how when you look on Triumph's roster, he's listed as a right mid. But if you go through and look, especially when Triumph was playing like a 4-2-3-1, that guy was pretty much always in the middle, facilitating all the action right
yeah,
there in the middle of the field.
yeah, he was everywhere.
Yeah. He's one of those guys that has good fundamentals, has good vision of the field, and knows where he's going to pass it, and he can make it happen. But like you said, I mean, with unfortunately age becoming a factor, and like you said, those miles, you gotta take that into consideration.
Yep, definitely.
But with his veteran leadership stepping into the Lexington locker room, especially in year one, that's going to be extremely valuable for them.
Mhm. For sure.
So Triumph's first 5 league matches,
Ooh,
there's some there's
their
some
f-
difficulty in there.
their first one's a biggie. I'll
Yeah,
there's no sugarcoating that one. When you got Richmond at home, that's a big match.
yeah,
That's one
and
versus
okay,
two last season, so
yeah, yep.
it's gonna be huge.
And before we talk about any more of the league matches, can we just acknowledge the bullshit involved with this Open Cup pairing? They have to travel to Phoenix for their match. I mean, that's just so stupid. There's got to be some way that you can pair the teams, especially with all the clubs that are there in the Southeast.
Hmm.
You got to be able to make something happen to prevent one club from traveling across the country to play a match like that, especially that early in the tournament.
Hmm.
That's just, oh, it's just terrible planning.
Well, I mean, it just goes back to too the drum I've been beating since Union Omaha has been a team in the Open Cup is that the lower division side should always host.
Yeah,
And I mean, granted, is that fair to Phoenix? No, but who really cares? They're in a league above us anyway. So,
yeah,
um, I mean, the lower division team should always host. It means more to a lower division side than it does these higher division sides. Now, granted, USL one, USLC, very close in that kind of thought process. I'm sure they would love to see MLS teams come to them as well, but um, I mean, that's just how it should be, and it is bullshit that they have to go across the country to play, and then 3 days later they play at Tormenta.
yeah,
I mean, you go from playing the number one team last season in Richmond, then you go across the country and play a team a division above you in a meaningful tournament, and then 3 days later you turn around and it's at Tormenta, but being that all those teams are in the South in League One, apparently,
yeah.
it's not huge travel, but on 3 days, I mean, there's what a rest day after the match, and then you have one day of training maybe before you have to go out there. So that's tough.
And then we'll give you a week off, but the next league match is going to be away at Forward Madison,
Hmm.
which is not going to be an easy match at all either.
No,
Oh, jeez.
no. But then they do come home 4 days later and have to play
Yeah.
Central Valley at home,
Yep.
and then
So that'll be nice.
that's then 3 days later they go to Lexington.
Oh,
So their whole front half of the schedule is just loaded with close together matches. I don't know
yeah.
who they pissed off in the front office scheduling, but damn.
Yeah. At first, I didn't think that was that bad, but now that we've discussed it, man, that's
Oh,
tough.
that sucks. Man, should have had your team in the middle of nowhere like us, I guess.
Yep. All
Granted,
right.
I
So
mean,
you
it's
posed
not too
this.
bad.
Yeah. You posed this question, and I love it. I'm going to read it because I just want to hear how you would answer it.
Okay.
So, how do you keep the momentum going after being arguably the most successful club in League One? Yes, we said that right here, right now, as far as year over year performance.
I think you just got to keep doing what you're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
the things that you have going for you is you have John Harkes as your head coach. Um, you know how to win. The team has been a winner in League One since its inception. They haven't missed the playoffs. So um, I think what is even the lowest seed they've ever been in the playoffs?
Like a four?
Yeah,
Was
so
that
they
2019? Were
yeah,
they a
that
four seed?
maybe the first season because then they were the only upset to make it to the final before,
Because they upset the one seed.
right? Um, but yeah, so I mean, if you look at that, you're in the top half of the playoffs every single year. I mean, you know what you're doing. You just got to keep doing what you're doing. And obviously,
Yeah.
you trust in the people that are in your front office and your coaching staff, your scouting department, and everything like that to get you the talent and everything that you need to just continue along.
Yeah. Not only the top half of the league, but 3 out of the 4 years, well, I guess 2 out of the 3 years, they were the top half of the playoff teams.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy to think about that they've had that kind of consistency
Hmm.
from year one. I mean, that's cool.
Right. And then I mean, you think what last season was their quote unquote worst season in club history? Like, if as
And they
far as
were,
you go from playoff performance,
yeah,
you were the number 2 seed that just happened to lose in the quarters. I mean,
to
or
the
the
eventual
semis.
champion.
Yes, the semis to the eventual champions. Like, yeah, okay, your problems are not that they're not that bad. There are a lot of teams that would kill for your problems.
Yeah. And how long does John Hart stick around?
Um, I mean, until somebody picks him up, I guess is the kind of sly easy answer. But
Well,
like,
yeah.
how long is it going to be until somebody gives him a chance at a bigger job? You got to think if they make the playoffs again this year. I mean, but then he would be gone next year, is where I was going. But I don't even think you can say that because the guy made 3 finals in a row and won one of them. So I mean, and he wasn't picked up after that. So I don't know. You might want to get conspiracy theory ist, but you start looking at some of the way that the U.S. Soccer Federation is run and wondering if that might have something to do with it a little bit. But I don't,
Well, I wouldn't want to be a part of the U.S. Soccer Federation right now.
with all the, yeah, no, probably
Yeah.
not right now. But I don't know. I mean, I want to say Harks probably isn't long for the league, but I've also said that the past 2 years. So
Yeah.
who knows if it'll actually happen or not.
Is there any possibility that he doesn't want to climb the ranks, that he wants to stay in Greenville?
Yeah, I was literally just thinking that right before you said that. And maybe it is. Maybe he's happy with his house that he's got there. He's happy living where he's at.
Yeah.
Totally fine. If you want to do that and you just want to be a League One coach, more power to you. As long as you're happy, who cares?
Hmm. Yeah. He's got Geo as one of his account executives.
Yeah, that's reason enough right there, right?
Yeah. And did you know that Geo has his own promotion, like a promo code?
What is it?
It's literally Geo.
Oh, thought it was gonna be like herbal essences or something. But no, I mean, Geo, friend of the pod. I mean, he's doing great things out there. So
It's just Al Vadoon or something like that.
yeah, yeah, perfect.
No, but he is still in the E Cup too, and he's doing well. I think his most recent game he won like 8-1 or something like that.
Yeah, I think that was the ending aggregate score, but yeah.
Yeah, which I mean doesn't compare to Evans up at Ford Madison when he won aggregate was like 15-1 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's there's been some big aggregate scores
Yeah,
in the E Cup recently. If you guys aren't watching the E Cup and you do play FIFA or you like FIFA, like check out the lower league E Cup. It's a
yeah,
good time. I've caught Geo a couple times on stream playing, and it's pretty nice to watch.
yeah. They're fun. I was watching Brandon and Geo play one time leading up to the E Cup, and they were having some fun. Of course, Geo was chipping Brandon
Yeah, I
as he
think I
always
did.
does.
I did see that one. Yeah, that was unfortunate, Brandon. Sorry.
All right, let's move on to Charlotte.
Yeah,
This is another club that has a little bit of hype going on.
yeah. I don't know that I buy Charlotte's hype, but we'll see.
It's
Um,
fair.
they did have a few departures here um, with Chris Hagart, midfielder. Um, he went. His loan ended, so he's back up at Charlotte FC, which is they have their sister program or whatever you want to call it, where they bounce players back and forth or whatever. But um, 14 appearances in all starts, 91% pass accuracy, 85% long pass accuracy, 3 goals, 4 assists, and 27 chances created. So, I mean, you
Guy
lose,
was kicking ass.
yeah, you lose an MLS talent.
Yeah,
That's gonna hurt, obviously. Um, and then you also had is that Paez? Is that how you say his last name? I don't really remember.
Ayrton Paez. Yeah,
Yeah. So, 13 matches played, 1 assist, which as a striker you would have liked some goals, but they also had some guys that could score goals already, and
hmm
I mean it's tough to break through that pack. But they also did lose keeper Zendejas, went back to Charlotte FC and was loaned out to Miami FC for this season with 24 appearances and 6 clean sheets. So you did lose a very good goalkeeper as well. So
yeah.
you lost a midfielder and a goalkeeper that were both MLS quality. That's going to be
They
tough.
did they did keep Austin Pack around for goalkeeping,
Yeah.
um, and then they did sign Noah Abrams. Well, they didn't sign him, but he's on loan from Miami FC. So there's a good quality competition for the starting role for goalkeeper there at Charlotte.
And I
So
mean,
that'll
that's
be fun to
good.
watch.
Yeah. Competition breeds excellence too. So,
Random interruption here. I just broke into the Black Dog Stout here. That's good, man.
yeah,
That's good. If you like stouts, check it out.
stouts are good stuff, man.
Excuse me.
So,
But
yeah.
jumping back into Charlotte, um, yeah, losing Chris Haggard, that's going to be a tough loss. But with some of the arrivals that are coming in, as well as the re-signs that the club had,
Hmm.
this club is building something special. Now, I am buying into that. I don't know if you necessarily are as much as I am. But when you, as a club, are able to re-sign talents like Trezor and Mbuyu,
Hmm.
Gabriel Obertan,
Yeah.
Corey Bennett,
Hmm.
um, Hector Acosta, Omar Sis. I mean, these are guys that contributed big time to this club last season. And the fact that you're losing the quality of players that they did, but you're still able to build hype and generate buzz ahead of the season is because you're able to re-sign those players, keep that core group together, and you're able to add even more talent, which we're about to get to.
Hmm.
Excuse me. So the first one that signed was a right back, Joel Johnson. He joins from Hartford Athletic.
Hmm.
He did play with Charlotte while they were in the championship before they self-relegated themselves. All in all, he's played 175 matches, has 6 goals to his name, as well as 15 assists. So that's a quality player that they're bringing back into the fold. And
At
then
right
they
back
brought
too.
in a defensive midfielder, Brad Dunwell. He's joining the club from Detroit FC, Detroit City FC. I apologize.
Boo.
And yeah, exactly. So with that comes plenty of experience from the USL Championship.
Hmm.
Um, and he does have 59 matches played. He has an assist along the way. This is a decent player that came out of Detroit City. And, even though the stats may allude to the fact that he may have underperformed last season, he's still a quality player that's coming in. He's going to help him out.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that it was anything that Brad specifically did. It just DCFC as a whole underperformed last season. They overpromised and underdelivered, and I
Yeah,
hope I get hate for that. But um, it's true. Sorry. Um,
they're going to hear that and they're going to swarm.
yeah, just don't put any bad words on any of my Twitter feeds.
They did sign another player. His name's Luis Alvarez. He's joining from a first tier club in Honduras. Um, and then the biggest off-season signing, in my opinion,
Hmm.
would be Dane Kelly.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah, I mean he came from the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. He was the Golden Boot winner with 18 goals in 2017, but he was with Reno 1868 that season and was the 2012 USL Pro winner with Charleston Battery. So, I mean, there's a pedigree there and a huge signing. And he's also, did I say right? Wasn't he? Didn't he play for Charlotte at one point? And so he came back to play for them again.
I don't remember seeing that, but I wouldn't be surprised. We've
Oh,
had
they said something
several
about it.
players that have had that situation in our lineup tonight.
Hmm. Yeah, but huge, huge pickup. And I mean, when that came out, I remember seeing it on Twitter quite a bit. The Charlotte fans came out for that. I think that was the
Yeah,
most interaction with Charlotte fans I've ever had in my entire life. So good for them, though, man. That's a good pickup.
that's one of those where, and they even hyped it in their Twitter account by having that chair with the crown sitting on it.
Hmm. Yeah.
I thought that was a cool way to hype up the signing. But then as soon as they released that name, you're just thinking like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's it's going to be tough for defenders this season. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
And a player that Charlotte fans may not know a whole lot about, but I want you guys to all keep an eye on this player. His name's Bashir Day. He was drafted by Inter Miami, didn't get signed to him, which happened to be for the benefit of Charlotte Independence because that's where he ended up going. Um, Played his college ball at University of North Carolina, Wilmington. If you look up his stats, they're not going to be impressive. I'll be entirely bluntly honest with you. They're not that impressive. But if you watch some of the film from his highlights, this guy can play.
Mhm.
And to back it up, I mean, this guy was recognized by both his conference being named to their first team, and then for the tournament, he was also named to the first team of the tournament. When you watch him on film, this guy knows how to set up plays. He knows how to create chances and make sure that he sets his teammates up for success. So even though he may not have a whole lot of goals or assists, he can still be that factor in making things happen in the offensive area.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean that's going to be a thing that they definitely needed, um, was to have somebody that can set them up, um, especially in that midfield. So it'll be an interesting season for Charlotte. I'm not super high on them, but as I said earlier, I think that the league is going to be so tight again this season that missing the playoffs and making the playoffs is going to be a couple of points.
Yeah.
So any team could really be in this mix for sure.
Yeah. So last season, as we were getting down to, I mean, I think there were even 5 weeks left, 3 weeks left in the season, and we were still trying to do all the math to figure out who was going to make the playoffs. It's going to be even worse this season
Yeah.
because the the amount of development that each club has made in the off season is incredible. And I'm telling you, this is going to be a great USL League One season. I don't want to say it's going to be the best one so far, but I also don't want to say it's not going to not be.
Hmm. Definitely.
I all I know is that I'm extremely excited for the season. So I also want to pitch this your way and see if you kind of agree. Last season seemed like it was a very defensive season,
Hmm.
and I feel like it's going to be the exact opposite this season.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree.
Some teams have bolstered their defense. They have some quality signings, whether it's re-signs or having guys join their club. But if you look at the offensive threats, club by club, I mean, this is going to be a very offensive season.
Yeah, I think so. Um, I still think that defense is going to be the thing that is going to win you the title,
Yeah,
and but the offenses are going to play a huge role in at least making it to the playoffs this season, in my opinion.
yeah,
Um, and it's going to be fun to watch. Like I think the league this season is going to be one of the more fun seasons to watch if you're just a fan of soccer, as
yeah.
opposed to just watching my own team. And I know from watching last year, there were a few teams that I would watch, and it was like, okay, damn, I got to watch this match. Nobody's going to score. And Omaha half the time was that thing. Like Omaha was that team
Yeah.
half the time, and it just happens to be the club that I support. But I mean, rewatching some of those Omaha matches, I was like, God damn, dude, they need to score. So hopefully, no teams have that problem this season, and we get to have a lot of fun.
Yep. So going back to Charlotte, by all estimations that we've seen in their social media posts, they have 17 players on their roster at this moment. And yeah, they still have some more signings to make. I mean, they're one of those clubs that seems to. So you're allowed to have, I think, somewhere close to 30 players on your roster, and
Hmm.
7 of them can be internationals.
Yep.
And I think Charlotte is one of those teams that likes to get pretty darn close to 30 each year. And I think it's good because they bring in a lot of their academy players to give them that experience in the competitive environment of League One. And if I'm looking at players that are missing, especially from last season, I don't know, man. They with the players that left and the players that they brought in, I think Charlotte did a good job of addressing their needs in the offseason. I mean, they kept that core group of players together.
Hmm.
So, I mean, having those spots open and available for academy players to come in and fill, I like it. I like what Charlotte's done in the offseason. I really like what they're doing there.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, they seem like they hit all the buttons they needed to. Um, but I mean, they also have their academy that they can pull from and everything like that too. So, um, we'll see exactly how many players they bring in outside of the club, and then how many they promote from their academy side as well. So we'll kind of just have to play that by ear. But I mean, I agree. I think they did a fantastic job this season.
So I kind of asked you a similar question with, I think it was Ford Madison. I'm going to ask you a similar question here.
Mhm.
What do you think it would take for clubs? Oh my gosh, we didn't even mention Miguel Ibarra
Oh
or
yeah.
Shalom Duty. I mean, they're look at the roster they have here.
It's a good
Hector Costa,
roster,
Shalom
man.
Duty. Oh my gosh, Miguel Ibarra, Trezor Mbuyu,
Yeah.
Gabriel Orbert. Corey. Oh my gosh,
See,
this is
that was my problem putting together some of the ones that I did. I was like, there's so many dudes. Like I just got to just randomly pick them because otherwise it's gonna seem like favoritism. Because I mean, we're gonna talk about them all the time anyway. But like, yeah, this team in particular was like, well, I can't just put their entire roster on because we'll talk for an hour and a half about their roster. So,
yeah. So I was going to ask you, what would it take to entice the likes of Corey Bennett and Trezor Mbuyu away from Charlotte? Now they're both international players,
mhm,
so that's certainly a consideration. But then you also have the likes of players that we just mentioned. Gabriel Obertan, he's an international.
mhm,
Um, Ibrahim, he's a international. Omar Sis, he's an international. I mean, there are quality players on this team that are sticking around. And I have to believe that there are other clubs higher up the US soccer pyramid that would love to have these guys on their roster. Do you think it's a matter of playing time? Do you think it's a matter of the international spot? A little bit of both? Maybe the pay isn't where they want it to be?
um, just kind of from what we've seen with Charlotte, I think the international spot is always going to be a thing. I mean, it's tough unless you are a like designated player. A lot of teams are not going to pick you up if you're an international player in the higher ups. So um, there's that. But I also just think these guys probably see what Charlotte's building and what Charlotte's doing, and they're like, yeah, I could get with this. Like, I stay here another couple years, and they can see maybe if I stay here another year and I win a title out of it, then yeah, I can leverage that and get twice as much money as I can if I left now. But um, Charlotte's building something pretty special out there, so they'll be. And I mean, they know how to do it too. That's the thing. It's like they've been up, so they know what it takes to get players at that caliber. So dropping down and doing that here in this league probably makes it a little bit easier and a little bit more enticing. Probably a sales pitch. At least I would use it as one.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the last season playoffs, there were two teams that were hot heading into the playoffs: Charlotte and
Hmm.
there's Tormenta.
Yep.
You had Richmond, who lost a few games leading down the final stretch. You had Greenville, who, although finished second, I mean, I kind of feel like they kind of limped in to the playoffs.
Hmm.
I mean, they had some issues that they had to deal with, and they weren't in the kind of shape that they were hoping for. But when you have teams like Tormenta and Charlotte that are both hot heading in, it's because you have the offensive factors, you have the defensive support, and you have academy players that are developing well and can contribute if they are thrown into the matches. You're seeing it at both of these clubs.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't really say it any better than that. That's exactly how I feel as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've kind of been talking about this, and your question here is, how do you build off of last season? I I, I think it's kind of what you said with Greenville. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, you just keep building your academy side, which is going to be as the league grows and as the league gets older, the academy sides are going to be a big deal. So when you have teams like Charlotte or some of the other guys that have academy sides already, um, if you start building the academy side before there's a real demand for academy players, you're already going to be a step up. And it's going to be one of those things where you're building for the future. And that might be kind of what some of these players that are either staying in Charlotte or coming to Charlotte are seeing and are saying, okay, well, shit, I might have guys that are going to be younger and trying to push me out of my job, but I also have new, fresh talent every single year because this academy's been going for a few years now. And those players are going to start to turn of age where they can hop in and get some real playing time in the first team.
Hmm. And with last season, you had Austin Pack sitting behind um, Adrian Zendejas,
Hmm.
and so he got some good, valuable training. He got to watch a quality player in action. Now, as the club brings in Noah Abrams
Hmm.
from Miami FC, he's another player who's going to contribute for that club because he's on loan. You have to think that they're going to give the majority of the playing time to Abrams.
You would think so, yeah.
But the fact that um, the fact that Austin has been able to watch a player like Zendejas and train with him, and now he can watch Abrams train and watch his technique and all that kind of stuff. He's going to keep picking up those subtle nuances. So when they do decide to play, um, when they decide to play him and instead of Abrams, I mean, Austin could be a valuable player in the next couple of years for the club.
Yeah,
We'll
definitely.
see.
Hmm.
They're
Yeah.
certainly developing. They're
Yeah.
investing in them.
Yep. Well, so talked about everybody else's first 5 matches plus their open cups. This one is a pretty serious uh, set of matches here. They start off week 1 at home versus Richmond, and then they go to Tormenta, and then at Richmond again in week 3 before the U.S. Open Cup versus Appalachian FC or NC Fusion, the winner of that. And then they go to NCFC, and then they're at home versus Union Omaha. So let's just go through this playoff team, champions, playoff team, a good U.S. Open Cup squad, NCFC, which a lot of people have them very, very high this season, and they
Yeah.
did bring in a ton of talent, so that's going to be a tough match, and then a playoff team. Like we were talking about Greenville getting screwed here. It's like they must have really pissed off the front office schedule,
their
dude.
first their first three matches, regular season champion, playoff champion, regular season champion.
That's
Come
just
on.
that's messed up. I don't know how you do that to them.
But on the flip side, they get all this difficulty out right away and they can just put that behind them and look at the matches they have ahead of them. Whereas the other clubs, they'll look at those other future dates ahead of them and think, oh shit, here it comes. Okay, it's a week ahead. It's
Mhm.
2 weeks out. Oh man. But no, Charlotte, they'll see all this stuff, man, right away. So this matchup between Appalachian FC and NC Fusion, that is another match that's happening a week from today. I feel like Appalachian FC could be the winner of that one. I don't know a whole lot about NC Fusion, um, but we'll see. It should be a pretty interesting one. Isn't Appalachian
Mhm.
one of the clubs that embraced Bigfoot, or am I thinking of a different club?
No, I think that is Appalachian FC. I think they just fully ran with the Bigfoot motif, put
Yeah,
it in their kit and everything like that. Yeah,
yeah,
which I
that's
think
cool.
you'd have to being an Appalachian, right? Like,
Yeah,
why not?
yeah,
It's
exactly.
great branding, if nothing else.
It is. So, long story short, I am very sorry, and I shouldn't be saying this with a smile on my face.
I say nobody can see it, but we're also on YouTube now, so everybody can see it.
uh, I am very sorry,
Charlie.
Charlotte fans, for for your uh, your first five, even six matches right out the gate. This is going to be a very stressful time for you. So if you have any concerns that you want to speak about, we're here for you. We'll listen. We'll talk you through it. We have a lot of faith in your club. We're talking highly of them right now. Just get through these first 5, 6 weeks.
Yeah, then you'll be all right. Downhill after that.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we kind of alluded to them earlier, but Northern Colorado. Oh, it's because we were talking about Arthur Rogers.
Yep, Arthur Rogers. So
Yeah.
yeah, Northern Colorado. I don't know why when I did this outline, I like went back and forth between arrivals and departures, but apparently we're gonna start with you know what? No, I'm gonna go to departures first.
Archer's guy.
So Jerry DeStunes
Des
leaves
dudes.
25 matches played, 3 goals, 1 assist. And he was involved in a ton of plays last season. Um, you didn't hear good things happen without his name attached to it. So
Mhm.
that's a huge loss. That's an attacking midfielder. A forward, Lachlan McLean, 26 matches played, 4 goals, 2 assists. He retired, so he's not going anywhere. He's done. Um, but another big hole. And Ethan Vandercourt Decker leaves to go back to Richmond. 23 matches played, 3 goals. Um, Injury prone is a nice way of putting it, but a great player still.
Yeah.
So 3 attacking players that you lose in a NoCo squad that really could use some attack.
Yep. And I mean, we could do a whole bunch of jokes about Lachlan McLean, right? Or Lachlan McLean right now, but
Right?
I mean, he was a contributor for the club. There's no doubt about it. He was valuable to them, um, and having him retire, good for him, letting him um, sail off into the sunset like that. I mean, maybe it wasn't the way that he wanted to, but he's doing just fine. I mean, he has hundreds of thousands of followers. People are keeping track of him every day, so
Oh yeah,
he's doing just fine.
yes, thirst trap himself.
Yes. And Ethan Vanacore Decker, I mean, EVDs, he did good stuff out in Richmond before he got injured. I've been keeping tabs on his recovery on Instagram because he posts some stuff about his recovery. I
Hmm.
see him, in the gym or wearing the recovery leg sleeves,
Yeah.
to recuperate and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I think he's going to come back. He's going to do good things for Richmond. We'll obviously talk about them in just a little bit, but I mean, I think he left Northern Colorado midway or three-fourths the way through the season.
Yes, he did. And that's also something that Matt also pointed out in the YouTube comments here. But he did leave like halfway through the season.
Yeah.
But still wanted to include it because Northern Colorado did not do that well last season. Um, and I feel like he might have been a part of that as well.
Yeah.
But I
Agreed.
mean, they did add some talent. With the goalkeeper Edward Delgado coming in from Phoenix Rising. 15 matches played, 34 goals conceded, and with only 2 clean sheets. So the stats are a little. Um, uh, the stats don't really tell the whole story. So he is a good player, and I expect some big things from him. Um, but one player that I'm really going to be watching this season is left winger by the name of Billy King. He's coming from St. Patrick's Athletic, which is an Irish First Division squad. He had 29 matches played last season, 4 goals and 3 assists. A great player who I think is going to add a ton of versatility to the attack for Northern Colorado, and he is on my short list for MVP this season.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah,
All right.
I watching some of the tape from this guy. He's a serious player.
Ooh, okay. That's a man, that's a bit of a bomb to drop right now.
Oh yeah, has nothing
Because
to do with the fact that my middle name is Patrick and I'm very Irish, but just happy coincidence. But yeah, so um, they also um, grabbed a defensive midfielder, Enoch. His last name, I'm gonna
Fuqua?
maybe. If anybody else has any ideas on how to say that,
Yeah.
um, apologies, but coming in from Charleston Battery. 19 matches played, 2 goals and an assist as a defensive midfielder. So, um, watching some of Northern Colorado's games last season, they really could do with a guy in the midfield that can slow the pace down and help out on defending, if not start setting up for the attack, which I feel like Enoch, watching a little bit of his tape, can do that. So it seems like they've filled a little bit of the voids that they kind of needed to fill this season. Obviously, not as much with the attack as they probably would have liked, but still going to be a team to kind of look out for this season.
With the players that we see already with the club, as well as the arrivals, what kind of shape do you think Zayed's going to go with this season?
Oh,
Do you think he's going to experiment, or do you think he's going to stick with the same formation?
don't. It's tough because when we get into the super intricate details, I'm not the greatest person
Yeah,
when it comes to that stuff. But I would assume that if last season was any indication of um of kind of what he wants to do, I would assume he's going to play pretty much the same formation, which
yeah, that
or
that could be.
like a 4-4-2.
Yeah,
Um, maybe play three in the back and try to get that midfield a little bit more shored up. Um, but I don't know. I mean, we'll just kind of have to find out on the 25th when they play Chattanooga.
yeah. It seems like the typical style, whether it's American soccer in general or just League One, the uh, the outside backs release very quickly once you go on offense.
Hmm.
Um, and he was certainly, Zayed was certainly one of those coaches that released players. I mean, you saw that with Arthur Rogers screaming up the field
Yep.
to contribute on the offensive side in the final third. So, I mean, you
Defensive
could,
offensive player of the year.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you could see that again this season with
Mhm.
what you were just saying with play four back on defense, but then as soon as you go on offense, play in with three in the back, like you said. So
Or even
we
two.
could easily see something like that.
Just shove those backs forward and just they play the entire length of the pitch.
Yeah, yeah. And in typical Northern Colorado fashion, all of their first 5 or 6 matches that we're going to talk about here are
Uh,
on the road.
oh Lord.
And these
Yep.
are not fun road matches either.
No. No. You start off the season at Chattanooga, and then the next week you go to Tormenta, and then I mean at Colorado Springs. Yes, it's a little bit of a drive, but it is in the same state at least, So, but a team that is good in championship, but also a team that they beat last season
Exactly.
in the Open Cup. So, um, then you turn around and go to Richmond, and then to Omaha, and then to One Knox. So, I would venture to say all playoff teams in your first 5 weeks. So that's tough, man. I don't.
Maybe not Chattanooga.
Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, they could be a
I don't
bubble
know.
team, but with the rest of those teams, I could easily see them being playoff teams.
Sure. Okay, so we'll say 4 out of the 5 are
Yeah,
almost
but still, I
most
mean,
people would have
Chattanooga
in the
is still,
playoffs, yeah.
but even Chattanooga is not any team to joke around with. I mean, especially if you're
Sure.
going to Chattanooga.
Mhm. Yeah, we know that's a tough place to play. Their fans made it very clear, especially last season, that they were there, supporting, so that'll be a tough one.
Yeah, they're gonna defend the den.
Yeah. So, if you're Northern Colorado, how do you get over the disappointment that was last season? Granted, you almost made the playoffs, but it definitely wasn't where you wanted to be as a team, especially at the end of the season.
You started to see things turn around toward the end of the season last year. I mean, they were still in the hunt
Mhm.
up until I think their very last match.
Well, hell,
Um,
I mean, but you can also make that case for damn near every team too. Even every team that missed out except for Tucson and NCFC last season.
yep, yep.
So,
And it wasn't just the fact that they were in the hunt for the playoffs. When you saw them play, they had that confidence and the belief that they could do it.
mhm,
And even though that when they were playing toward the end of the season, they ended up playing. Um, Everyone else was playing a game in hand in comparison to Northern Colorado. Northern Colorado was the team left out at on decision day. Um, but they were playing like they believed, and I think Zayed did a good job of instilling that belief factor in them. Um, Despite everything that was stacked against them, moving from stadium to stadium for all their home matches, not great attendance at all. Um, Starting off their season, pretty much, what was it like? The first 3 months were on the road or something like that. It was something
mhm,
ridiculous like that.
yeah,
So then to go with the second half of their season, I mean, they were turning out results. I mean, it was fun to watch them play, especially with Irvin Para. You saw him generating a lot of results, and I mean, it was just they there was the belief factor that was was the deciding motivator for me. They're just yeah, they were playing like they believed.
mhm, yeah. And what is NoCo Stadium situation? Do we have any idea when that is going to be finished? If they're even going to play there like they were planning on it?
You hear things, but you don't ever see any pictures. All you ever see is still the art, the renderings, and all that kind of stuff of what it's going to look like when it's finished. They've been playing in that dome structure during their preseason, whether it be for scrimmages or for their preseason matches. We haven't seen them do a whole lot of outdoor activity out in that complex. There's still a lot of there's still a lot of questions surrounding that whole thing. Um, I don't know, man. I think even the players, like if you ask them, I don't know.
Yeah, I
They
wonder if
just
the players even care though.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it would be nice to have your own stadium and to do all that stuff, but I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are getting paid to play the game, right? Like, do they care that they're playing in a, let's say, a practice field? Um, and then we also have in the chat here, Matt says that he lives minutes away from the stadium and that it's not close. So that's unfortunate. Thanks for
Thanks
the,
for the update, Matt.
yeah, thank you for
Appreciate
the
it.
update for sure. Um, but that sucks, man. I mean, I want everybody in this league to have their own stadium and their own place to play. Um, but unfortunately, if it's not ready, it's not ready. What are you gonna do? So,
Yeah.
but
I want every single stadium to have the attendance of Ford Madison on a regular season match. Um, Richmond in the playoffs. I mean,
yeah,
Union Omaha when things are going well. I mean, I just want everyone to have that experience because if I have the option of playing on a high school field with high school bleachers versus playing in a genuine stadium with full seats, you damn right I'm going to choose the soccer specific stadium with full stands. So it's just bad. It just looks bad for Northern Colorado to have that kind of circumstance in their way.
yeah. Well, then Alex in the chat as well saying that they're saying September at the earliest. Um,
Earliest.
yeah. So working in construction, I know September at the earliest is actually maybe a month or two after that. So
Yeah.
that's unfortunate, man. But um, maybe playing through a little bit of adversity will help the team gel.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Thanks for saying something, Alex.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for commenting in Snow too.
All right. So next is one Knox. Let's do this. No
Oh,
departures.
yeah.
I love how in the last one you had arrivals first, and then here when we have a club that doesn't have any departures, we list that first.
Listen, listen, Rich. I'm not as good at putting these together as you are. Um, and it also doesn't help that I've piecemealed this for like a month now. I've just been working on it like sporadically. So I'm just like, let's just do departures. Just like go into
Oh,
transfer market. I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. Departures, good. Arrivals, yeah, sure, whatever.
man, I was taking my time going through all their social media, looking at every single signing, all the videos surrounding it and everything. Man, that took a lot of time too.
See, that's why
It
you're
was a lot of
better.
fun, but it took a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's what we love about you, Rich. You will go through the other things that nobody else will go through. That's how you get the good leads.
All right, so pure arrivals for one Knox. We got a lot of good ones to discuss here.
We do. Yeah, we'll start off with Sean Lewis, goalkeeper from Indy 11. 18 matches played, 40 goals conceded, one clean sheet. Not great stats, but you also need a goalkeeper. So, and we'll kind of just see how that plays out. Um, Big name Jordan Skelton from NCFC. 29 matches played, one goal as a center back.
Should have been defender of the year.
Probably should have been if we were actually giving out the award based on the name of the award, but
Yeah.
League One does not do that. So, and then Rich, I threw this one in there just for you. Jimmy Villalobos, coming from Chattanooga Red Wolves, 29 matches played, four goals. And I know that you love that guy. We talked about him until we were red in the face last season. Great player.
Yeah,
Um,
good player.
and then Jake Keegan, um, forward from Greenville Triumph, 24 matches played, two goals, two assists. Yeah, I mean, Jake Keegan, everybody who's watched the league for a year or two knows the name. So that's
And
pretty solid.
Jake Keegan is another one of those players that has a lot of veteran leadership that he's going to bring with him to One Knox. And I know that a lot of people have talked about the miles that he has. It's similar arguments to Don Smart that we were talking about earlier, but with Jake Keegan now.
Hmm.
I think he's going to be a good addition for One Knox. I think he knows League One inside and out. He's been playing long enough. He's going to be good.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, we can go up and down that whole entire roster, but those are some of the biggest ones that are on the roster that we can pull here and now um, and discuss. I mean, there's just that whole roster. There's some good names on that roster.
Hmm.
They're going to be a fun team to watch. And I got to say this here now. Seeing the immediate rivalry take place between One Knox and Lexington, I'm loving it. I'm all here for it
Hmm.
because it's not personal. There's no threats of violence or anything like that. It's pure banter. And you can tell that there's that inherent Tennessee Kentucky rivalry involved.
Hmm.
Oh, it's just so nice. I love it.
It is. It is really good, and it's actually nice to see that the league embraced it. Um, as I can think of another rivalry that the league never officially embraced that they probably should have. But
Yeah.
um, good on the league for picking it up and bringing some light to it. It'll be
Yeah.
a fun one for sure.
So we just talked about Northern Colorado's opening schedule. It doesn't look, I mean, it all on the road. There's some travel in there, some tough teams. When you look at One Knox's opening 5 league matches plus their Open Cup, there's some difficult matches in there, but I have to, in on my end, I believe that One Knox has the easiest, possibly the easiest opening schedule of any of the League One clubs. It's always fun to open your season with a rivalry, and that's what they're doing on
Hmm.
this Saturday
Yep.
against Lexington. They're at home playing Lexington. Then they're playing at home against Union Omaha.
Hmm.
Then just a few days later, they play at home versus Memphis 901 FC, which is from USL Championship.
Yep.
And then finally, they go on the road to play Chattanooga before returning back home to play Fuego and then Tormenta.
Hmm.
There are some tough teams in that list.
There are.
Uh, but the fact that you're playing, so the we just listed off 6 matches. 5 of those 6 are at home. That obviously right there gives you an advantage. You don't have to worry about travel, all that kind of stuff. It's nice to play on your home turf. You get to sleep in your own bed at night. Like I said, there are some difficult matches, especially playing at home versus Union Omaha. That Open Cup match against Memphis, that's going to be fun to watch. April 4th, that's going to be fun to watch.
I mean, as all, if we can even watch it, that's the thing.
True.
Is that one of those that's actually on Bleacher Report or no?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think it is. So we're gonna have to hope we have an insider in for that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, their schedule doesn't look super hard. Obviously, you have the rivalry, like you said before, with Lexington. That's always going to be a tough match, especially when you got a rivalry going before the season even starts. Um, Union Omaha is always going to be a tough defensive team. That's kind of just their prowess. Chattanooga, be swayed either way on Chattanooga. I think I have Chattanooga a little bit higher than you do, so consider them a bottom mid team probably. Central Valley, that with what they have going on, who knows really, but I don't foresee them being that great this season. And then you have the champions. Yeah, it's not too bad of a schedule. I don't see them losing the majority of those.
Yeah. And if you haven't listened to Walk in 90 in their preview of the season, they did a fantastic job of breaking down the difference in club development between Lexington and One Knox. It was a really, really good discussion. They went into the details, they broke it down, both from a mindset, practicality, players they're bringing in. I mean, it was a really good discussion. I really enjoyed it. So I would encourage everybody to go check it out.
Yeah.
Mark McKeever, the head coach over at One Knox, has collected a good quality group of players.
Hmm.
And he has the experience to mold these players into a unit that can be a big threat this coming season.
Yeah.
Whether they can do that right off the bat, I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, you don't know about any of the clubs right off the bat. You obviously hope that they can, but I think McKeever, oh, excuse me, I think McKeever is going to set the club up for success this season, and they're going to be a threat in the long term.
I think so. I agree. So, issue that we have as well is being an expansion team, you got to deal with all the noise, the expectations, debates, online noise from supporters of your team and not supporters of your team. And I know we could kind of speak on that a little bit as Union Omaha fans coming into the league. There was a lot of talk that happened when Omaha came onto the scene, and um, a lot of kick a ball first comments and stuff like that. But I think honestly, you just got to go out there and play. And this isn't like a fresh start team either. So um, they're moving up from excuse me, from League Two. So it's a big step. Obviously, it's going to be a bigger step coming from League Two to League One than it is from League One to Championship or something like that. But um, the team has functioned. The team knows how to be a team, and the coaches there know how to make that happen. So I really don't think they're going to have too much of an issue coming into the league this season.
Yeah, I agree. They have some pretty cool merch too.
Yeah, uh, one of the one of the best crests in the league. I would have to say.
I like the sunset, like the gradient stuff. I like that.
Oh yeah,
That's cool.
it is super cool for sure.
All right, next up is the regular season champions, Richmond Kickers.
Yeah.
Plenty of news coming out of that club and moving into that club.
Hmm. Yeah. So start with some big news. Signed by Sporting Kansas City for Sporting 2. Ethan Bryant leaves. Um, was the Young Player of the Year last season for USL One. That's a big miss. That they're definitely gonna miss him for sure.
Hmm.
But not to be outdone by that, really either. They lost another midfielder with arguably one of the best players in League One, Jonathan Bolanos, signed by Huntsville City FC. That's the MLS Next affiliate for Nashville. The 2022 MVP nominee, 2022 All League First Team, and 2022 Assist Champion.
So
Y-
he's a
Yeah,
baller.
yeah. I mean, yeah, field player. Just practice squad, whatever. But
Yep.
big man, big departures there. I mean,
They
there's
did decline a few options in there, and there are some recognizable names in there, but I don't think a whole lot of them had a huge impact
no.
um, on the team. Austin Cossey, he joined Lexington. Christian Molina, I mean, he's near and dear to our hearts because he played for Union Omaha. He was
Hmm.
part of the 2021 team that won it all.
Yep.
Um, Leonardo Baima went back to Argentina. So, I mean, they lost some players in their roster, but the players that they're bringing in, first and foremost, Joao Gomiero, their
Hmm.
striker. This guy is one that people need to watch out for. He's been practicing with the club for quite a while. I think even since last fall. Even I think even before the season ended, he was practicing with them. I could be wrong on that end, but I'm pretty sure he was practicing with them before the season ended. Um, and he played with North Carolina Fusion USL2 club. He had 13 matches with them, 10 goals, 1 assist. He led the club in goals, and he was third highest in minutes. He's a quality player. People do not know enough about him. They will know his name very shortly.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Um, I'm gonna have to look up some more of his film because I don't think I've seen maybe but a couple minutes worth of highlights off of him. Excuse me, but yeah, I'll. I mean, you lead a team in goals, 13 matches and 10 goals. That's doing pretty well.
Yeah. And we already talked a little bit about Michael Hornsby earlier when we were talking about Fuego. He was a
Mhm.
solid defender for them last year. Um, I think it's one of those situations where he just had to do what was right for his career. Um, Fuego was presenting some difficulties. I don't think that he'll experience those same difficulties at Richmond. And I think that they're going to help him develop both his defensive fundamentals and just shore up, you know, his duels. So when you look at his stats, he was very solid with his blocks and clearances, and especially his interceptions. But if you look at his duels, both ground and aerial, he seemed to lag a little bit. So if he's going to a club like Richmond, they're going to help him, they're going to develop him, and he's going to be all the better for that. I
Mhm.
think this is the right move for him. I think Fuego lost out on a good defender, but obviously Richmond is gaining a very good defender in the end.
I agree with that. Yeah, and there's a few other guys. I mean, there's a ton of other guys that we could mention. I think the only really big ones that we could talk about would be like Jake Meacham. Um,
Yeah.
he was with the Denver Pioneers, which is a Division One squad. Um, he's an outside back with a ton of good stats from college, and he started a ton of matches, excuse me, even as an underclassman. Which playing in Division One, if you're an underclassman playing in those matches, that's a big thing for you. Um, you could also look at Carlton Belmar. He's a forward out of Colorado Springs, which is USLC team. Um, 3 starts, played in 28 games, so he's subbed on a ton. Um, he's one to look out for. Any of these guys that have come down from C um, have all done pretty decently at least. So that's also one to look out for. Um, there's a few other guys that we could talk about too. Beckett Howell from the Academy for Richmond, and Gabe Cox, which is also another Academy signing. So Richmond is, excuse me, yeah, Richmond is they're they're making their way up, right? So if we're gonna go ahead and look at their first 5 matches, plus the U.S. Open Cup. They open week 1 at Charlotte, week 2 at Greenville, week 3 versus Charlotte, and then in the U.S. Open Cup, they versus the winner of Cleveland SC and Lionsbridge FC. Week 5, they're at home versus NoCo, and week 7, so they get a week off between that, and then they play the defending champions. That is a pretty tough schedule. I know you play Charlotte twice, Greenville, and Northern Colorado. It's gonna be a tough thing for Richmond. So the questions you got to ask are, how can this club maintain the magic that was the regular season? So going into it, you really can only do what you can do. You know, you have to go in and you have to play the game that Swatsky knows how to get the team to play. Um, and other than that, you kind of just got to let the cards fall where they may, really. Um, but what you really need to look at, as far as, because I mean, we know what happens in the regular season, right? You can be regular season champs, and last year we saw Richmond was, but they bombed out of the playoffs in the semis. So the bigger question is how and what is the best way to replace somebody like Ethan Bryant or Jonathan Blount? Can it even be done? That's the question to ask, you know? So,
Yeah. I mean, they certainly have a tough schedule. Replacing Ethan Bryant is going to be very tough, especially replacing Jonathan Bolaños on top of that.
mhm,
Um, I I have a tough time saying that the club was able to replace those players in their signings just because of the fact that Ethan Bryant and Jonathan Bolaños are so good. Um, so I don't want to necessarily say that they've replaced players uh, of that and brought in players of that quality. But I do think that Richmond has set themselves up for success with quality players.
mhm.
Will they live up to Ethan Bryant and Jonathan Bolaños level? I don't think so. But they'll
That's
still be good. They'll still be a good unit, and they're still going to be successful.
yeah, and I mean when you're replacing guys like that, I mean those are big time talents that you don't just replace one season. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're guys that were built into that. So um, yeah, I don't know. You also got to wonder how many more players is this club going to sign?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you got to try to find those guys, and maybe it's just a numbers game at that point where you want to try to get as many people in as you can to try and find those replacements, or do you? I don't want to say take a season off because I don't think anybody's taking a season off ever in this league, but do you do that and just ride with guys hoping that in a year or two they do replace the um the guys that you did lose?
It's always a possibility.
Yeah.
Another newcomer, Lexington SC.
Yes. Lexington. Let's see. Skip past them. There they are. All right. All right. I'm going to say the departures first, even though it's listed second. There's no departures, so they're a new squad. So um, they did end up getting somebody that I do really like. And if you listen to the podcast at all last season, you know that I was a Closet FC Tucson fan. So Kalen Fox comes from FC Tucson, 53 appearances in USL 1, 2 goals and assists all time. But I really like Kalen Fox as a player. I think he is a great center back who just happened to play with a, I'll say, bad Tucson team that showed flashes late last year of what they could be, and Kalen Fox was a big part of that. Um, so that's a great pickup, and honestly, in my opinion, when you get a center back with the size, talking height, size of Kalen Fox, that's always going to be good for you. Um, so that's one that I'm really going to look out for. Um, Rich, you're gonna have to help me out with the pronunciation on this
Ooh,
one.
I
You're
don't know about
you're
that one,
better than
man.
I am.
Yeah.
Right?
Gates Doof?
Yeah,
I don't
I don't
know.
know. Anyway, came from San
As
Antonio
soon as we get a
FC.
pronunciation guide on that one, we'll correct that. But for now,
Yeah,
just just deal
yeah.
with it.
I know we have a few people that listen to the podcast that are announcers for USL One. If you could go ahead and send us your pronunciation guide, like just email it to us,
Or
and
anybody
we
that
got this.
has uh, press passes and they get their hands on the media guides, they have
Mm,
pronunciation guides in there. So just
let us
share it
know.
out there.
Yeah, just let us know.
Yeah.
But San Antonio FC, 49 appearances, 5 goals, 5 assists. So a great player and the midfield, attacking midfielder as well. So um, always good to have. And then we talked about Don Smart earlier. Um, Greenville, 92 appearances, 13 goals,
92.
12 assists. Great player. He's getting up there in age, like we talked about earlier. 35. He's 3 years older than I am. So
He's
I guess
35? I didn't know that.
35, yeah, 35.
Man,
Um,
I thought he was like 32.
yeah, nope, nope, 35. So you got to wonder how many minutes he has in him. But I mean, at the same time, he played a lot last season too. So who knows? Age isn't everything, I suppose.
And I know that we talked about some tough opening schedules with some of the other clubs, but you can put Lexington up in that group too, because they have a
Hmm.
pretty tough opening schedule.
They do. Their first week is their rivals over in Knoxville. Um, and then week 3, they go to NCFC, which a lot of people have as a playoff team. And then their US Open Cup match is Louisville City FC.
Oof.
That is a tough, tough draw. That is
Yeah,
a perennial powerhouse in USLC. So, I mean, but that brings up the interesting thing. If you knock off a team like that in the Open Cup early in your season, how much momentum does that give you, especially for the matches that they have coming up directly after that?
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, the rest after that is not it's not a pushover schedule either. You have Madison at home, then Tormenta at home, and then Greenville at home. So they do have 3 matches away to start the season and then 3 matches at home right after that. So it's a nice balance of that, but the teams that they have coming to their place, in my opinion, are all playoff teams, two with 2 of them being locks for playoffs in my opinion.
Yep.
That that is a very, very tough opening schedule for sure.
Yeah. So they have a couple weeks between One Knox and North Carolina,
Mhm,
but then that stretch between North Carolina and that home match against Ford Madison, that's going to be tough. And that's going to be a big test for them mentally because after they get done with Louisville City, I mean, even if they lose, even if it's a close one, they may feel motivated to get back into league play. But at the same time, you just got knocked out of a tournament and you have to play a quality team in Ford Madison. Granted,
mhm,
it's at home, but still, I mean, that's a
yep,
tough club
mhm,
just a couple days after that. So you have to really put those matches behind you and focus on what's ahead of you and not let that stuff pile up on you.
right. And I mean, just does anybody in League One have a tougher opening opponent in the US Open Cup than than Lexington?
No,
That is
going up against Louisville City, no.
oof. That is your first one. Hey, I know you guys are playing in your first Open Cup, so here's one of the premier teams in the division above you.
Yeah,
It's like the toughest team you could have drew in this entire round.
yeah,
But come out the other side and everything looks like roses, so
yep.
that could set them up for a really nice run.
So looking at their roster, I recognize some of the names that are on the list, but there's plenty of others that I'm not quite familiar with. And I think that speaks back to what we were talking about with One Knox and that mentality difference between the two clubs. I
Mhm,
think that Lexington is more geared toward developing their talent. Um, and I think that when you look at those players, you kind of see that in their mentality because they're bringing in players that are good in their own right, but may not attract the same type of hype, the same type of buzz that other other players would. And I think Sam Stockley does have the right mix in place to Sam Stockley, the head coach over at Lexington. I think he does have the right tools, the right resources around him, the right development. I mean, he's a proven developer, and so I think he's speaking to his wheelhouse when he's bringing in these players that may not be, I don't know, generating the kind of buzz that I just spoke about, but he's going to develop them in the long run.
mm,
So even if the club doesn't fare as well in their first season, you can bet that Stockley is going to set them up for success in the coming seasons because he's going to establish himself as a developer. He's going to prove that those talent can play in League One, and he's going to attract future talent to him.
yeah,
So
I
as far as the first season for Lexington, I don't know.
and I mean,
I don't know.
there's been good, showings from them as well. I mean, when you go ahead and look at all of the work that they've been putting into their academy, especially, because they started that academy, God, it had to have been right when they announced, damn near.
Yeah.
But, with all the work they're putting in there, that's also one of those things that we talked about earlier with the academies gonna be probably becoming a big part of these teams coming up. Um, they already have a leg up on teams that don't have an academy. So, I mean, that kind of speaks to one of the questions that we have for this team is how do you use that to strengthen that good core of players that they do have and brought in. And I think it only helps in the long run. You might not see dividends this season, like you said, but um, in the coming years, it's kind of like the NCFC thing as well, that um, you knew that their academy and Charlotte's academy and every other team that has that academy can feed them later once they start coming up. So it's definitely a play.
Yeah. Use the blueprint from North Carolina and from Charlotte. You're going to spend less money in the beginning. You're going to develop more talent. It's going to take a few years, but the investment is going to pay dividends in the long run.
Yeah. Well,
And as
since
far as counting on Don
yeah,
Smart to give you consistent minutes, I think he'll give you minutes.
hmm
I don't know how many matches he'll last the full 90 minutes. I think even last season, the past couple seasons, he was routinely getting pulled out maybe 60, 70 minutes. Um, but when he's on the field, he'll give you quality play. Um,
definitely.
yeah. But that's certainly something that Stockley has to take into effect when he's developing his game plan and his substitutions and everything.
hmm I agree. Well, since we were just talking about him, we can go ahead and jump into apparently everybody in this league's darling NCFC. Um, let's we'll go through the departures again. I'm gonna try to keep this. I'm gonna remember this for next time. I put departures first. Jordan Skelton, Britton Fisher, and Showcat, but we don't know. I still don't know if Showcat has been brought back or not. I've been hearing rumblings that maybe he's getting brought back, maybe he's not. I don't know
Oh,
for
really?
sure. So um, I'm just gonna until we know for sure that he's on the team, I'm gonna consider him a departure.
Yeah, I currently show him without a club, but that could easily change.
So I mean that's three kind of core guys from last season that left, and NCFC was not a horrible side last season. So,
Yeah.
um, but they did bring in a ton of firepower this season.
Yes, they
they
did.
they were not messing around. Um, we talked a little bit earlier about FC Tucson being completely torn apart as soon as they announced that they were going to drop down. A guy that I was pretty high on last season, Louis Perez, um, 26 appearances, 6 goals, 7 assists, and um, he is a midfielder that can really facilitate a lot, especially for the attacking power that has been brought in to NCFC. So
Yep.
I would look for him to make a big impact in that midfield, um, and maybe a sneaky assist leader conversation for him.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Oh, now that you mention that, yeah, that could really be a strong possibility.
mhm. So I mean, you look at some of the guys they brought in. Um, somebody like Shaq Adams, who came in late last season, um, returned from his loan with the Charleston Battery. No significant stats with Charleston, um, but 51 appearances in USL One, 13 goals, 4 assists, and he is a very scary player. I know as soon as everybody found out he was coming back, it was, oh shit, and is NCFC going to make it in the playoffs with Shaq Adams coming back? Um, and then they brought in one of my favorite players from late last season, even though, yes, I'm a Union Omaha fan and he did just completely break my heart last season. But Rafa Menzingen coming in from Chattanooga, 66 appearances, 13 goals, 11 assists, and he broke the hearts of Union Omaha and Richmond fans in the playoffs last season with his late heroics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you kind of just have to look at it. There's a couple questions I do have about the makeup of the guys that they brought in, specifically the ones that I just mentioned. Rafa Menzingen and Shaq Adams play the same position. How how do you bring in two guys with their talent level in the same position? How are you going to get them on the field at the same time if you're going to do that? Because last season or late last season for Chattanooga in the playoffs, Menzingen came off the bench to score both of the goals to bring Chattanooga to the final. So how I don't know how they're going to put that together where two players of the same caliber at the same position can play together.
So you kind of have to get creative because you don't want to bench either of those players because of their quality. And you could end up doing like a 3-5-2. You could do a 4-2-3-1, or just, I mean, just set up a 4-4-2 and then um, let those guys mix it up there on the flank. So, I mean, with those kind of players, you have to get creative. But at the same time, if you remember down the stretch, um, Chattanooga was utilizing Rafa Menzingen and Juan Galindrez late in the match. They wouldn't
Mhm.
sub them on until the 70th minute or something like that.
Yep. Mhm.
So you can also get creative with your substitutions in that case too, because Menzingen is used to coming on late and being impactful in that regard. Um, so I think it's going to require some creativity for North Carolina, but you don't want to miss out on having one of those players missing too many minutes because those are both impactful players.
Mhm.
Man, having Luis Perez,
But there's some facilitating going on 'cause that dude can get the ball to a lot of players in very good positions.
yeah. And just a quick random aside, did you see the Charleston Battery jerseys that they released?
Haven't yet.
You'll have to check it out. In my opinion, some of the best jerseys you'll find in USL, like all of USL. Extremely original, but they look good. They're classy, a good design. I don't, man, it just Charleston Battery. I think, man, they're gonna look
See.
good.
Talking about the black and white ones,
No, the yellow.
or yeah, sorry, the yellow and white one.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are sharp. I didn't know Volvo was their sponsor. Hmm. Yeah, those are sharp.
yeah. I really like those.
For some reason, I see those and I'm like, I'm feeling like a Brentford Bees kind of vibe. Maybe it's because of the model they have doing it. Kind of looks like their coach, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are good looking jerseys. Those. And Alex pointed out in the chat too that Rafa's played multiple positions with the Red. So maybe he's
Also true.
yeah, maybe he's a little bit more
Versatile.
fluid and doesn't matter where he plays. He just wants to get up the pitch and score extra time goal.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so we briefly mentioned Juan Galindrez.
Mhm.
How has nobody picked him up?
I don't know.
Jose Carrera Garcia got picked up.
Mhm.
Rafa Menzingen got picked up. Juan Galindrez, he's still working out. That dude needs to get picked up. How has that just drives me wild. Like,
Mhm.
how has nobody picked him up?
Yeah.
Nonetheless, North Carolina does have some good matchups. They play 3 league matches before they jump into their U.S. Open campaign.
Yeah, they got the early match is what day is that? The 17th.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
Friday.
that's Friday. They are the Friday match. I like that. They got Tormenta. So there's a I feel like a high scoring match coming up maybe in that one.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one. And then they travel to Central Valley, and then they're at home versus Lexington. And then the US Open Cup, they get Loudon United of USLC before coming back home for Charlotte, excuse me, and then going to Union Omaha. That's a pretty decently tough opening schedule.
Yeah. Pretty tough, pretty balanced, both, visiting and home and
Mhm.
with the difficulty of the opponents. I think it's a tough but balanced schedule.
Yeah. And honestly, if this was last season, I would say, well, yeah, your US Open Cup match is not that hard against Loudon. But after watching them on opening weekend for USLC, they don't seem like a horrible team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And for that April 8th matchup against Charlotte, it leads me into a question I had at the very begin or at the very bottom of the sheet, but I wanted to ask it to you. So they posted on Charlotte posted on their Instagram account recently asking fans to name their derby matches with North Carolina.
okay.
So I'll give you three chances or three options. And if you don't like those, you can always actually four options. And if you don't like those, you can always say other and then try to name it yourself. The
Okay.
first option is the Oaks Crown. Kind of an interesting name. Raleigh, North Carolina is the city of Oaks.
Okay.
Charlotte, North Carolina is the Queen City. So there's the crown. So
Okay.
there's kind of an homage to both cities in that title. The next option is the Dogwood Derby, and the state flower of North Carolina is the dogwood.
Okay.
Plus, you have the bonus points for alliteration.
Sure.
And then the next option is the Carolina Cup, which another, bonus points for alliteration. But at the same time, there are other clubs that are based in Carolina. So
Hmm.
does it really still work if you're calling it the Carolina Cup, even though there are other clubs that aren't able to compete for the cup?
Yep. Sure. Okay.
And then the next one is in the same vein, it's Battle for Carolina. Um, kind of in the same vein. There's still other clubs in Carolina. Are you really winning Carolina if there are still other clubs that are not represented, that are not taking place in it?
Hmm.
So which of those do you like the most? And
Mm.
like I said, if you don't like them, then you can always say other and throw out a suggestion.
Ooh. Um, I like them all. My favorite, because I am a fan of alliteration, is the Dogwood Derby.
Yeah.
Um, that to me is really good, but the Oaks Crown is actually pretty good too. I feel like there's a little bit more you could do with the Oaks Crown as far as branding and as far as merchandise and stuff like that. So, ooh, I'm gonna go with my gut though, and I'd say I would take the Dogwood Derby over the rest of them.
Yeah, I agree. And from what it seems like, that seems to be the leading candidate for the name.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I like it, but I'm also a big fan of alliteration. So,
Yeah. All right, let me scroll back up there. Oh, nice. We don't have much left before we get to our own club. Okay.
yep,
So, how can you improve this season?
go out and do what you did and sign all these big name guys
Yeah.
and just let it rip. Try to score 20 goals a match.
Yeah. So looking at their roster, I feel like they are going to be another one of those teams that's going to be very offensive heavy.
Hmm.
And Ebony spoke to her concerns last season when she said that they're going to go out to score a bunch of goals, but they're also going to be letting in a lot of goals. So they have to score more to stay relevant. I think that could easily be the case again this season. We'll see
Yeah.
because defense is definitely going to be a factor for them. especially with as much offensive power as they have on the front edges.
Hmm. And I mean, got to look at it too. I mean, we already touched on this too. Is the academy going to play a big part in your success eventually? Yeah, obviously. But this season, probably not with the amount of spending and the amount of people they brought in. I don't think you're going to see very many academy kids this season.
One name we haven't listed off yet that we will likely see a whole lot more of this season, Nicholas Rincon.
Yes, I was going to mention him, and I totally forgot about it. I looked it up a little bit earlier, but the news came out today. Yeah, that he's re-signed for this season. We were really big on him last season, coming off his academy contract, and just kind of how he came into the league, and for the last couple weeks, damn near took the league by storm. I mean, kid's good, and he is going to be really good. Um, so again, that just goes to show the academies. It might not happen overnight, like Rincon apparently did, but it's going to help in the long run. So,
Yeah. And Rincon has a lot of respect from players around the league. If you talk to them about the Young Player of the Year award and
oh yeah,
the race for that award, his name is routinely brought up, not only as one of the candidates, but the candidate to beat for that award. That's how respected he is with some of the players around the league. He's a lot of fun to watch, and it's good that North Carolina brought him back. I'm surprised that it took this long for them to re-sign him, but nonetheless, it's good that they brought him back.
yeah. I wonder if he was getting more looks and more options from somewhere
Possibly
else.
could have been. Yeah, he could have been. All right, now the club that's near and dear to our hearts,
Yeah.
Union Omaha.
So, departures obviously. You lost Ryan Jiba in that record transfer deal to Minnesota United. Went straight to their MLS side, didn't even go to their MLS 2 side. So
Yeah,
they must have saw something in him when they played in the Open Cup. We lost Gabriel Claudio to One Knox. It's a good pickup for One Knox. And Alex Bruce announced fairly early in this offseason um, that he was headed to Ho Chi Minh City FC in Vietnam to play. So he's getting an opportunity to play abroad. So um, good on him. Omaha lost a few defenders as well. We haven't heard anything back. Um, Alex Touche, I don't know if
he retired.
he retired and he's out.
Yep.
So they also lost Alex Touche, so that's a big back line blow for Omaha, and defense was their thing. So I know there's a few other players that we haven't heard anything about, and don't know if
Dalton.
they got Dalton. Dalton is a big one that I don't suppose we've heard anything, or I haven't seen anything from him. But yeah, a lot of departures, especially in that defense for Omaha.
Yeah. So quick side bar about Gabriel Claudio. Yesterday, I think it was even last night, Chivani was having a live stream on Instagram, and he was sitting on the couch watching TV, and he saw some people that were joining in on his live stream, and they were kind of chatting with him. Gabriel Claudio joined in and said that he's going to score a header against Union Omaha on April 1st when the club comes to Knoxville.
Hmm.
Not only that, Gabriel Claudio was saying that he was going to score his header by jumping over JP Skeers to score the header.
Oh yeah, hmm, sure.
That was some fun
Some good
banter
banter.
going
I
back
like
and
it.
forth between the guys at that point. So that was fun to watch.
I like that. Well, Omaha went out and brought in some guys that I mean they probably should have because Omaha was very lacking in the offensive department last season. Um, Joe Gallardo being a big one. Coming from Liga MX, 12 appearances, one assist in there. But um, a good player. Also, Steven Dos Santos coming from Tampa Bay Rowdies, yet another Rowdies appearance in coming down to League One. Uh, and with the Rowdies, he had 189 appearances, 62 goals, and 19 assists. So a very good goal output and something that Omaha sorely needs.
Yep. And then right back, Junior Palacios joins the club from Miami FC, also from USL Championship side.
Yeah.
He had 44 appearances and 1 goal. I mean, he was a defender, so you're not going to
Mhm.
anticipate a whole lot of goals coming from him, but um, was a strong defender for them. I think this is his first professional club outside of Florida.
Oh, I've been to Florida a few times, and I don't know that I'm making that jump. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
coming to,
Because he spent a lot of time in Miami, and he was playing for a USL 2 team, I think. And when they played Miami FC in the Open Cup, um, he was bound and determined to make that his tryout for Miami FC. And so at the end of the game, he even went up to the coaches and said, "Hey, I want to join Miami FC." And in the off season, they signed him, and he obviously had 44 appearances for the club. So, I mean, this is a guy that when he sets his mind to something, he's going to do it.
mm, yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah.
always something you want, especially in a defender.
Yeah. And then another player leaving FC Tucson was Luca Mastrantonio. Now, we talked quite a bit about him last season.
Good.
Um, he played every single minute for Tucson last season. He was named captain 6 times. I think Galen Fox was named captain pretty much every single other time.
Yeah.
Um, but Lucas still had 2 goals last season. So, I mean, he's another good, solid defender. And it's really good that Omaha was able to pick him up. He's a solid addition to the back line.
Yeah, I know we talked quite a bit about him last season as well, so that was good to see. Um, them pick him up. Yeah, I mean, there's a few others, but those are the big ones, really. Then you go ahead and look at the first 5 league matches in the U.S. Open Cup for Union Omaha. The first one on the 26th versus Forward Madison at home. Then they go on the road to One Knox, and then in a funny twist of fate, Union Omaha's new head coach was a coach at El Paso Locomotive who just happens to be the team that they're playing in the US Open Cup. And so, like I said, they definitely looks like these first few matches, they're like, what how can we make this funny? So,
Ah, the tangled webs we weave.
yeah. And then Omaha hits the road to Central Valley and then back at home versus NCFC and then away to Charlotte. So, not not a horrible schedule. I think El Paso is a team that is going to take a step back this season in championship. They did look good um, in their first match, and I don't know, did they play tonight too?
Ooh, that I don't know.
Somebody
But
was playing tonight.
in their first match out the gate in USL Championship, they played Sacramento Republic, and it was a 1-0 win for Sacramento Republic. So for El Paso to do that against a quality club like Sacramento,
Hmm.
man,
Yeah,
there was some
and
good play in that match.
mhm. And so let's see if we look at Omaha. You probably have 3 playoff teams on that schedule. That's not a bad. It's not a bad start.
Not bad.
3 home matches out of the 6, 3 away. So yeah, another good mix there. So I guess the only questions that you can really have for Union Omaha is there's 3 really big ones. The biggest one to me is the offense finally going to find its form, and how are they going to do that? 'Cause they, especially down the stretch last season, offense was a big issue for. They could
Yeah,
not score goals. They could stop people from scoring goals. They just couldn't get anything done themselves.
yeah.
So um, they need to be able to find their form. It seems like with some of their signings that they're trying to do that and have done that. Um, but then you also have to worry about, can this team continue the high level of success that they're used to and that the fans are used to without head coach Jay Mims?
I know that fans are concerned about Dominic Casiado filling J-Mem's shoes, and they're concerned about the offense. Union Omaha is in great hands. Dominic is a very high respected coach. He's an up and comer. Union Omaha is very lucky to have him leading the club. He was brought into El Paso Locomotive to rediscover their offensive talents, and with him leading their offense, they rediscovered their offensive um, strengths. And you saw that with the stats turned over from the 2021 season to the 2022 season. There were a lot more shots, the creativity involved, the goal production, it all increased. I'm sorry, it was from 2020 to I can't remember what it was, but he was brought in and he really increased El Paso Locomotive's offensive production. And I have no doubt that he's going to do the exact same thing at Union Omaha. He's a quality guy. He knows what he's doing. He's a proven leader at multiple organizations. Um, and with the players that he's bringing in, there's a reason why Union Omaha is getting the attention and the hype that they are, because he is doing things his way, but at the same time, he's doing things that are going to generate success for the club. It may be in a different way than what Jay Mims would have done, but success comes um, in all different ways, shapes, sizes, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to see that with Casiano this season.
Yeah. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, kind of answered any other questions that I had, which was just how do you bounce back from a quote unquote down year? Because there are teams that would kill to be in the playoffs again. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So, without further ado, I guess we can move on to the Chattanooga Red Wolves. So, their departures, and how much time do you guys have? Because there's a lot. We're just going to kind of go. I know we talked about most of these, but we'll just kind of go over again. Uh, Jose Carrera Garcia joined Central Valley. Juan Galindrez joined Rio Grande Valley FC, USLC. Rafa Menzigan is NCFC, and Jimmy Villalobos joined One Knox. And somebody that we haven't heard about is Ray Ortiz. 27 appearances for Chattanooga, 16 starts, 3 goals, 3 assists, 27 chances created. We don't know anything. We don't know where he went. We don't know what he's going to be doing. So there's quite a bit of shoes to fill. I'm sure there's more than that too. But yeah, Chattanooga kind of got picked over, picked over pretty good.
I'm looking up something here really quick. Just a moment. I'll jump in here real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I was talking about Juan Galindrez earlier, but it's good. I didn't know that he was with Rio Grande Valley. I didn't know that he was with the club. I thought he was still prepping.
Mm, double check.
Huh. Okay. Well, interesting. Anyways, there are still some really good signings coming with Chattanooga. Now, you have to talk about their head coach that was just signed in the offseason, Koratowski. Um, this is a guy. So I have some interesting opinions on Chattanooga because he comes from Albion San Diego, which is a NISA club. And if you look at several of his signings, um, they are also from NISA clubs. Now, let's first look at some of the recognizable names that you'll see on the Chattanooga roster. I mean, you still have Carlos Aviles in goal. Um, he was pivotal to their success last season, especially in the late stages. You still have Aaron Lombardi on the back line. Walefi is going to be there in the midfield. Alex Tejera is going to be up on the top line. Mo Espinoza is going to be in the midfield. So you have some solid guys that are coming back from that core group last season. But looking at some of the signings that he's made, uh, you have Felipe Liborio from Cal United, which is NISA. You have
Mhm,
Walter Varela, which is from Albion SD, where he just came from. Miele Malongo, also from Albion SD. And you have Andrew Paoli from
mhm,
Bay Cities FC, which is also NISA. Now, you also have some quality players that have some USL championship experience. You even have Manuel Madrid, who was with Phoenix Rising. He actually won the CONCACAF Champions League with Cruz Azul back in 2013, 2014.
yep,
So that's some veteran leadership that's going to be very welcome to their locker room in the
mhm.
coming season. You also have uh, Williams from Pittsburgh Riverhounds. So uh, Javon Marsh is a guy that just came from Santos FC in Costa Rica. His nickname is Messi. Now, I have, I have a hard time calling somebody else Messi. Now,
Oh yeah.
if it's because he plays at the same level as Messi, I'm not calling him Messi because he's not playing at the same level as Messi. If there's some other story, if he's a big fan and all that kind of stuff, I don't know what the story is behind his nickname. I'm excited to hear it, but I'm not ready to call him Messi.
Yeah, that's tough.
But okay, so let's go back and talk about this. So you have a NISA coach joining League One, and in doing so, he's signing a handful of players that are from NISA.
Mhm,
Now, I don't want to disparage these players and or that league and say that they're lesser quality and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, the stories that you hear kind of
mhm.
lead you to travel down that path. What do you think of Ziggy bringing in so many NISA players?
I mean, I feel like you have to separate the
Mhm.
players in NISA from the organization that is NISA.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the players are probably on par with what we think a NISA player would be. So around the same level as USL one, right? So I think he's just doing what he knows and bringing in people that he knows or trusts to get the job done, or knows that in his opinion can get the job done, right? So um I mean, it's a strategy, I guess. um we'll see if it works out for him.
Mhm.
um it's an interesting strategy, not one I personally would have picked. I
Yeah.
probably would have went with um more known quantities, but that being said, they're also not known quantities to me because I don't watch or follow Nisa at all.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough to get a gauge on it, um, on a league that you don't watch. It'd be like asking my opinion on a Bundesliga team. It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think that kind of plays into his recruiting strategy as well, because, like you said, Nisa is his bread and butter. He's not used to seeing USL players
Mhm.
week in and week out. He sees those Nisa players. He knows what they can do. He knows their potential. His scouting radius may not reach out as far as USL clubs. So yeah, I like your answer. I mean, maybe it's just a fact of what he's used to and what he's comfortable with.
Yeah, which I feel like if you're gonna come into a club, especially one like this, you're gonna have to do the stuff that you know to be able to get through the season.
Mhm.
Um, Especially when it's a team that kind of just needs a ground up. I don't want to say rebuild, but reconfiguration of how they do things. Um,
Yeah.
Especially with all the turmoil last season and everything. So um, maybe it's a breath of fresh air and exactly what they needed. So well, only time will tell, really. But
Yeah. And I will say this, Chattanooga hasn't been the greatest with their social media presence, but I do like what they've done in this offseason. When they sign a player, they get Ziggy out there and talking about the player and talking about what he's excited about with that player coming into the team. So I think that's an interesting tactic. Usually teams just include those quotes with the player signing, but to
mhm.
see the coach looking into the camera and saying those to you as the person watching the video kind of gives a little more of a personal touch to the whole thing. And I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, I agree. So if we go ahead and look at their opening matches here, they open up with Northern Colorado at home. Then they have Central Valley Fuego at home. Then in the Open Cup, they take on the Birmingham Legion
Oh man.
at home, and then at home versus Knoxville. But then they go on the road to NCFC, and then they're at home versus Lexington. What?
So
Yeah.
5 out of 6 are at home.
Hmm.
Open Cup is at home, playing
Yep.
against USL Championship side. Kaler is, he's going to be hyped up for that one.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
I want to know if Kaler is going to be able to make it to that U.S. Open Cup match, because from Birmingham to Chattanooga can't be too terribly far. But hopefully he'll be able to get immediate passes and bring his camera with him, get
Yeah,
some good content there.
that would be pretty cool. Yeah.
Um, but looking at so 5 of the first 6 are at home, and looking at the competition, it's not a terrible lineup for the season. Um, they could be one of those clubs where after the first 5 weeks of the season, they could be pretty high in the standings. That'll be pretty interesting to watch. It I mean it, so Chattanooga is in another one of those situations similar to Union Omaha, where you have a new coach, you have a lot of new players, you have a new system coming in. There's a lot of questions.
Yep.
I don't know a whole lot about Chattanooga's situation. They're bringing in some pretty good players. They re-signed some pretty good players. I don't know, but missing out on the players that they are missing and not taking advantage of opportunities like re-signing Ray Ortiz. I don't know. They're a bubble team for me.
Hmm. Yeah, I could see that. And I mean, it's so tough to like try to rebuild a squad essentially from the ground up, and with all the off the field stuff, especially. I mean, uh, I don't envy that task at all.
Yeah.
But it seems like he's got it going in the right direction, and if he's gonna fly with Nisa guys and try to get it done, more power to him. We'll kind of see how it goes, but yeah, it's gonna be tough for him for sure. Tough sledding.
Yeah. All right. And last but not least, we have last season's champion, South Georgia Tormenta.
Yeah. So looking at their departures, Adrian Billhart is a big one, as well as Joshua Phelps and Gabriel Cabral. So um, they are missing a few pieces. Few starting pieces, obviously the biggest one being Adrian Billhart. Um, that's going to be a really tough one to fill. But for the most part, that squad is pretty intact, especially with their big. I don't want to say money players as far as actual money that they're making, but money players in the sense of their best players are returning
Yeah.
for the most part. So they also brought in some talent. Midfielder Cassini, we talked about him earlier, coming from Forward Madison. 26 appearances with him, 5 goals, 5 assists. Um, Coming out of Revs 2 of MLS Next, Ryan Saratkowski. Um, he's been around the block for a while, um, but definitely one of those players to watch. And bringing in another striking option um, to kind of shore up like Kingsford and why am I blanking on this guy's name?
Sterling.
Sterling. Thank you. God,
Gonna be good.
which is exactly why I don't know why I couldn't think of his name right off the top of my head. It must just be getting late, but um, yeah, another forward to help with those two. Maybe take a little bit of the strain off of them. Um, and then bringing in a winger, Ile, just go with that. Comes from Paphos FC. Not sure how to say this because it is a team in the Cyprus First Division. So he had 6 appearances, no big stats coming out of it, but um, kind of tough with 6 appearances. I think there was probably some injuries in there. It looked like as well when I was looking up games. So, um, but bringing in more guys to attack on a very good attacking squad already.
And this is another club that plays 3 league matches before they start the Open Cup.
Yeah, so they
And
start at North Carolina or NCFC. Yep, and then at home versus Charlotte, then at home again versus Northern Colorado, and then at home again versus Rio Grande Valley Toros, USLC. Then at home again against the team that they love to beat, Greenville Triumph, and then they go back on the road and play Lexington. So that's a pretty decent schedule for the champions, I must say.
yeah, that's not a bad schedule out the gate.
Not at all. Not at all. And that's a pretty good tie for the U.S. Open Cup as well.
Yeah. It's nice that they're coming to Georgia instead of the other way around.
Yes, coming to the new stadium down there.
Yeah.
It'll
Ooh, that'll be cool.
be good, man. That's another team. I'm pretty high on Tormenta as well. So, um, but I'm also one of those dudes that, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that kind of seems like what they're doing out there in Georgia. So, um, and I'm also a big proponent of you're the best until somebody proves otherwise. So they're definitely going to be another a good team again this year.
Yep. All right, so we can jump into our preseason rankings. We can jump into all those individual awards, even as I sit here and look at my preseason or the way that I think the season's going to end, the rankings that we have here.
Mhm.
Oh man, even as I sit here, I'm thinking, oh, I don't know if I like this or not.
Oh, yeah, I changed mine, like, 2 or 3 times before the show tonight too, so
Oh,
I mean, I think we both have
oh, I don't
we
know if I like this.
we can save it. We can always save it. Do a little more thinking on it and come
Now
back.
let's we can do it. That's fine.
Alright, well, we'll start with the team that we both apparently think are going to be the Wooden Spoon winners, and I am sorry, Fuego, but it is you. I don't have much confidence, partially because who knows what you got? You
Yeah,
you're not letting anybody know, so
show your cards.
that's that's kinda just what you get, I guess, until, you come out and prove it otherwise.
Yeah,
That's really the only reason I put Fuego so low as well too. We don't know. I can't make a good thing with him. So, but yeah, I mean, we can jump down, I guess, and then go to number 11. Um, we differ on this one. I went with Charlotte.
man. And I went with Lexington. I'm sorry, Tyler. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
just I don't know. I think they'll be a better team in the coming years. I'm just not ready to say they're a playoff team here and now.
sure. I get that. And I see Charlotte taking a step back. Even just I know I was kind of high on them a little bit, but I also want to say that it's going to be a very tight, very tight um, window. So I think these teams from about 10 to 6 are going to be within a few points of each other this season. I think I could go either way on pretty much all of them,
Yeah.
or could be convinced that they're all interchangeable.
Yeah.
So if we move down to 10th place, I am sorry, Tyler, but I have Lexington at number 10, so we don't differ too much on that one, Rich.
And I am sorry, Nick. I'm sorry, Rico. I have Northern Colorado at number 10.
I
I
say
just don't know if they've
Lexington.
I just don't know if they've done enough to keep up with the rest of the teams in the
Mhm.
offseason.
Yep. And I'm the same thing with you with Lexington. We just don't know. This season, maybe not, but definitely once the academy starts rolling and putting out players, I think they'll definitely be up there.
Yeah.
Moving down to number 9. Sorry, guys, I had Northern Colorado at number 9.
And I have Chattanooga. I think with the new coach and the new players, um, I think it may take a year or two for them to start climbing as well. I'm not ready to call them a playoff team yet this season either.
Yeah, and with NoCo, I mean, they're trending in the right direction, and you're essentially a bubble team at number 9 for me. So I could see you in or I could see you out. So from here on out, don't be too mad at anybody else, I guess. Moving on up to number 8, I have Chattanooga sitting at number 8.
And I cannot believe I'm saying this. This is one of those where I'm like, I don't, what was I thinking? Um, I'm sorry, Brandon. I'm sorry, Gio. I have Greenville at number 8.
Ooh, ooh,
Yeah.
spitting fire.
Um, man, oh,
That's a hot take.
yeah, it is a hot take. But at the same time, in my defense, just like you said, from I would say even from like 10-5 is going to be very, very close.
Yeah.
Just like it is from 1-4 is going to be super close too. This is, man. Yeah, I'm sorry, Greenville fans. That's where I have them right now.
All right. Well, coming off that hot take, let's go to number 7. I have NCFC at number 7, missing the playoffs.
Speaking of hot takes,
I I just I know the talent they brought in. I understand it, and I understand that they brought in a ton of firepower, but what good is scoring 7 goals if you let in 9? That's just my
oh,
opinion. I'm not very high on them. I don't think you're going to be able to gel all those players together well enough to make it to the playoffs. But you could. I mean, it like we said, it's all a bubble, so could make the playoffs, could not, but I don't see them as a top tier playoff team.
and for my number 7, I have Madison. I know I said earlier in the podcast that they are a playoff team. I still believe that they are a playoff team. I'm just not ready here and now to declare them as a playoff team. Gosh, this is tough, man.
Hmm. Yeah, these preseason
Because
it's not easy.
Glazer, he brought in good players. Gosh, they didn't miss the playoffs by much last season.
Hmm.
That defense is going to be a whole lot better this year. They brought in some offensive attacks. Gosh, why do I have them at 7? What the hell, man? Jeez. And even as so, you guys couldn't see this, but as Brian was talking about his pick at 7, North Carolina, I was adjusting my picks for for our future picks because I'm panicking here with my picks here. Oh,
Now you just gotta own them.
yeah, I should.
Just say whatever. I'm gonna get some
All
flack
right,
for the NCFC one, so
man. All right. All right, I'm owning it. I have Madison at 7. I'm sorry, Madison fans. I'm sorry, Rob. I'm sorry, Kyle. I'm sorry, all of you guys.
I'm not. All right, let's go to number 6. I have One Knox making the playoffs in their first season.
So do I.
I think just think they with the talent that they brought in, I think they're going to be able to put something together, and especially when um, you're maintaining a good core, especially in coaching. I place a lot of coaching stuff over um, a lot more of the player stuff. If you got a good coach, that can overcome a lot of mediocre players. And I
Yeah,
use the term mediocre lovingly, not as like speaking down on any of the players in this league.
yeah. So yeah, we both had one Knox at 6.
So at number 5, I have Forward Madison.
Think they'll make the cut.
I think so.
And I have Charlotte at 5. I think
And I think
we're
that's the one we
bringing back.
differ on the most.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to be good this season.
Fair. That is fair.
They're one of those teams that could very easily be very good, or they could be, that sort of lower end playoff team. I
Hmm.
I can't get a really good read on them yet, but I don't think it'll take long for us to discover what kind of team they're going to be.
Yeah.
Um, but man, they really stocked up on some quality players.
All right. So let's move into number 4. I've got Greenville sitting at number 4.
And I have North Carolina.
I just think
I-
with Greenville, I'm not gonna ever count them out of the playoffs until they prove to me that they won't make a playoff because they've done it every single year. So
yeah, it's yeah, it's hard to predict against something that is as steady and stable as they've been.
mm,
So I'm sitting here like, did I put them in what, eighth place?
yes, 8th place.
Gosh, what the hell, man?
But it's a really close, like within a couple points.
Yeah. Thanks for defending me.
Yeah, it's all good. Moving into number 3, I've got Richmond at number 3.
And I have Union Omaha. So you and I have the same top three. It's just in different order.
Yep, it is. I mean, I don't know, man, especially these top 3 teams, fuck, man, even the top 6. No, you know what? I'll say top 4. I could be convinced you could put this in any order of these top 4, and I could see that 100%
Yeah.
personally.
And I know that I'm a Union Omaha fan. I'm trying not to show my bias. And I'm trying not to drink the Kool Aid. But man, I'm so excited for this season.
Yep. Well, you have them at 3rd. It's not like you're drinking a ton of Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
which was invented in Nebraska, by the way,
It was
in
Hastings,
case
wasn't it?
anybody didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a parade.
Yep.
Well, at number 2, I have Union Omaha. Um,
And I have Richmond.
yeah, just flip-flopped. And you know what? I I don't even care if people call me a homer. I just feel like Union Omaha has the best goalkeeper in the league, had the best defense last season. Granted, a big chunk of that left, but they have the veteran presence and everything to make um, a defensive stand like they did last season. And now with the attacking options that they brought in, I feel like their scoring woes are going to be over. And so a good defense and a good offense is going to move you up the table very quickly.
Yeah. As far as Richmond, I think they're going to be good against again this season. I don't think they're going to be as good as last season.
Yeah, last season was a
Um,
really good team.
and because of that, it's going to be easier for teams to catch up to them. Like we've been saying the entire time tonight, it's going to be a very, very close season, um, start to finish. I mean, the point differential is going to be incredibly close.
Hmm.
It's going to come down to goals scored. I mean, it really is.
I agree.
Um, and I think, you and I, in moving ahead to the number one pick, we both have Tormenta repeating
Yep.
as the number one team. I think it's just because of the players they re-signed,
Hmm.
the players they brought in, plus the strength of their academy.
Hmm.
You add all that up, and it's hard to think that they're gonna dip much at all this season.
Right. Well, there's definitely a reason that like Tormenta was one of the quickest of all of our team previews because their core essentially is all completely still there.
Yeah,
And I said this last season at the beginning of the season when we started doing the podcast that you're going to stay on my like high end of the list until you prove that you're not supposed to be there. And I mean, look at what Tormenta did last season and the way that they did it. They're a team that is tailor made to go out and take some people by surprise and beat some people that maybe coming into it you think they might not be able to or shouldn't be. So, um, but I don't think anybody's going to be sleeping on Tormenta this year. That I think everybody kind of sees now how good of a team that they are that they might not have seen last season.
Yeah. And they were really hot getting into the playoffs too.
Yes, very much
They
so.
had a ton of momentum going behind them, and um, yeah, they had a lot of confidence, and they just took advantage of it.
Yep. Well, that is our list right there for what we think is how the season's going to end. Granted, this is subject to change, but
Yeah,
and I don't think either of us are super happy with our lists, but
yeah.
that's the list that we came up with.
And then we can always do the individual awards. I mean, even next time,
Yeah, we're at
because there's quite a few of those individual awards to
yet
go through, and
three
we can always,
hours.
yeah. So we can always do that next week. But we do have uh, matches this weekend. We do have questions from Twitter, so we can run
Yeah,
through those really quick.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we got a
So
question from Benjamin on Twitter at that one FedEx guy. Thank you for submitting the question, Benjamin.
appreciate you.
He actually submitted a few questions, so we're excited to answer these. His first question is: are either of you planning an away trip this year? If so, somewhere new or somewhere you go every year?
Yeah, I'm planning on going down to South Georgia when Omaha plays Tormenta on October 7th or 8th, whatever day that is. Um, I actually convinced my wife to do it, so she said she
That's
would come
awesome.
down. So
Yeah,
this would be my first away day if I don't go somewhere before then, which I may or may not. I haven't decided on that one yet, but I know for sure I want to go down to the Tormenta match and go down and see friend of the pod, Darren Van Tassel, down there too.
yep. I'd be excited to. Uh, oh gosh, darn it, Brian. He does the social media for them. Brian Evans.
Oh yeah,
It'd be fun to meet with him and hang out with him too. Um, so as far as the away trips that I'm planning for this year, I'm planning on going to the away days at Ford Madison, um, One Knox, Northern Colorado, and then going with Brian and his wife down to Tormenta for that one. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to be able to make it to Lexington. Um, I don't know if I'm going to be able to stretch that many, but those are the ones that I'm keying in on here and now. I've been to Madison a couple times and had a great time. Um, it'll be nice to go to Northern Colorado to kind of get a gauge on what's going on with their stadium situation, and just to you know visit Colorado in general. It's a beautiful place. And then going to One Knox. So we got recognized. Well, I mean, we had an let's see, what was that brewery's name? Here, I'm going to pull it up real quick. We had a brewery that was willing to provide some stuff up Gypsy Circus Barrel House in Knoxville. So they specialize in ciders, but they also have some meads in their location. But they were talking online about how they were willing to give us some. So I'm looking forward to going out to Knoxville, not only to see the match, but to give Gypsy Circus Barrel House some love and give them some business while I'm there too. So
oh yeah, for sure.
that's gonna be fun. So those are
Sure.
the away days that I'm hoping. I mean, it'd be nice to be able to go to all of them, but obviously,
Yeah.
finances and scheduling and all that kind of stuff kind of plays a key factor in that. I was hoping to go to Richmond this year, but Union Omaha's away trip to Richmond is a Friday night, so
Mm,
traveling out there would be not terribly easy. I do have some friends that live in Richmond, um, and they said that I could stay with them when I go. But the fact that it's on a Friday just,
Yeah, it makes it tough.
yeah, makes it tough.
Yeah, I want to get up
So
to Madison and I want to get out to NoCo. Might be able to talk my wife into the NoCo trip because she's been wanting to go to Colorado again for a while. So that one I might be able to swing. And then Madison, I might just go up on my own too. Just,
nice.
but we'll have to see how it goes. But I know for sure
And
we're planning on Georgia. Sure.
well, so yeah, we're all planning on going to South Georgia. Uh, and we'll keep you guys updated on which ones we're absolutely going to,
Mhm.
and let you know. If you see us, if you want to meet up before the kickoff, and you want to hang out, we'll be more than happy to hang out with you guys, um, have some good times before kickoff,
Yeah.
and then some even better times after kickoff. So
Yeah, for sure.
don't be afraid to send us a message, to seek us out if you see us walking around. We definitely want to chat with everybody, want to hang out. We want to, you know, give your local businesses some love, drink your local beers and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I love local beers.
Yeah. All right. So then Benjamin asked, who do you think may be the MVP this year? And do you think it shouldn't be just the golden boot like usual? Good question.
Ooh, ooh.
MVP.
So to answer your second question first, no, I've never been one. I know I went on a rant about this last season that the MVP should not be the person who scores the most goals um, on the best team, like and on the best team. That doesn't no doesn't make sense. What the MVP should be is the player that if you took them off of that team gets significantly worse. Hence the most valuable player.
Which
So
last year was, we felt it was Ibarra.
sure. Oh yes.
Yeah, we were riding that train.
Yes. S you yeah, you take a player off a team and they suck, that is your MVP. If they're a good team and they suck without this person, that's your MVP.
So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that take. MVP should not be Golden Boot. Yeah, I mean, it's okay if it is,
But it's
but
not
I
the
I
only
don't think it's a
factor.
requirement.
Yeah.
As far as who the MVP could be,
Ooh, um, yeah. So, I'm not gonna give my homer pick, um, which would just be any Shooting Omaha forward, but who I actually think it's gonna be, it's a lot tougher. Let's see where yeah, because I don't wanna get there it is. Billy King is gonna be on my
oh,
short list. Like I said earlier, I really like Billy King as a player. Um, so I'm gonna roll with him. Billy, you're uh you're my pick for MVP. So got a lot of love for the Irish division.
man, MVP. I don't know if I'm. Ooh, let me see about this one. Man, I don't.
You know what? I could throw like
Hmm.
Irvin Para in too as a
Yeah,
sneaky MVP pick. I think I was banging his drum last year for it too.
and it's hard to pick a center back because they're always paired up,
Hmm.
and it's hard to pick a midfielder because they're usually the assist leader.
Right.
Oh man.
I mean, we know it's going to go to a forward.
Oh, I'll go Christian Cheney,
That's a good one.
Ford Madison. Yeah, I'll go Christian Cheney.
But what if Cheney wins the Golden Boot?
I don't know if he's going to be the Golden Boot
Ooh.
because over at Charlotte, you still have Corey Bennett, you still have Trezor Mbuyu, and those guys were having a big race uh, to be the scoring leader of that club. And then at Greenville, who was the what was the guy's name at Greenville who just took off like a rocket in the first half of the season, um, and then died off in the second half?
Oh, oh,
Um,
oh, yeah.
Fitzgerald is no, that's no, that's no, that's not him. It's just a name that came to mind. Here we go. What's his name? Oh, Garrett McLaughlin is another one of those names.
mm,
At North Carolina, Jacob Labovitz
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
at Greenville. You know, he's another guy
He got
who,
he got injured though, right?
yeah, I think he was dealing with a nagging injury that was preventing him from getting too many minutes there in the second half of the season. But that first half of the season, I mean, he came out strong. He was scoring
Hmm.
left and right.
Yeah. Well, and plus you got um, Terzaghi too, still in the league. I,
Terzaghi, yep.
I know you're not high on him, but I mean, 3 seasons. It's
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that.
it is really hard to argue with that. But yes, I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll get more into it on the next
Yeah,
show, but yeah. So I think the only thing left is just go through the matches that are happening this week.
yeah.
Um, Friday we've got NCFC um, taking on Tormenta, and that at NCFC. Jeez, I can't
Yep.
talk now. And that's on Friday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Since we're in Omaha, every time we say a time, it's going to be in Central Standard from here on out, just so everybody knows. Um, and then on Saturday at 4 p.m., Charlotte hosts the Richmond Kickers at 4 p.m. and at 6 p.m. One Knox hosts Lexington.
Man, every single one of those is going to be so much fun to watch.
I'm looking forward to as soon as I get off work on Friday, putting my feet up on the couch and watching soccer the rest of the weekend.
Yeah. Oh man, and Friday, St. Patty's Day.
Hmm.
People are gonna want to party and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if my family might be doing something, but oh, those are gonna be fun to watch. Oh my gosh, I can't believe
It's
the
going to be a good
season's
one.
back.
Season is here. It's starting in 2 days.
2 days.
Days.
Oh,
That's it.
so exciting, man.
It's
And
going to
it's
be a
gonna be
good
a
one.
good season too.
Yes, for sure.
I mean, here we've talked what almost 4 hours, and I could talk another 4 hours.
Yeah. Good if I didn't have to go to work.
Yeah.
I missed last week, and then I'm like, I got my paycheck today. I was like, oh, okay. Never mind. Let's not get COVID again.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do that.
No.
All right, everybody. That is the first episode of our second season covering League One. We are super excited to continue covering the league, to continue bringing you guys content. We have plenty of stuff that's going to be coming your way. We are excited to announce that stuff and to develop all that content. It's going to be a great season.
Yeah, it's going to be. We're really excited to show you guys all the stuff we've been working on and talking about behind the scenes. Um, I think you guys are really gonna like it. So,
Yeah.
um, stick with us. Check our social media pages and stuff like that. And if you're watching on YouTube too, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so you guys get the first half stuff because that's going to get uploaded. And then with my work schedule, anything we do on YouTube, it's going to get uploaded. And then I'm going to say something about it the next day, probably. So
Yeah.
if you want to see it first, make sure you're subscribed. So as soon as it go live, you guys get it. So
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and start editing the audio. It'll go into all the normal podcasting apps that you can access. And um, yeah, we have a lot of content coming at you. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Some good stuff. For those of you that did sit here with us and tune into the YouTube stream, and for those of you that submit comments, thank you very much for hanging with us the entire time,
yeah,
or however much time you did spend with us. We appreciate you taking the time to spend with us and submitting comments and all that kind of stuff. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
yeah. Thank you guys.
All right. Until next week, enjoy yourself.
All right. Bye, guys.